This video continues with Chapter 61 Let's Fight First and Then Talk. Marvel, loading the strongest anime templates. Chapter 61 Let's Fight First and Then Talk. That's it. I don't know why it's like this. In the burger restaurant opposite the hospital, Jessica wiped away tears and told Hawking about her situation in detail. After all, she was still a high school student, and her family was all gone in a car accident, so she couldn't accept it anymore. She had been suppressing her emotions for the past few days, so she collapsed and wanted to commit suicide. Now that she had a person like Hawking to confide in, her emotions were released all of a sudden, and she couldn't stop crying. "Jessica, this was just an accident, I can't blame you." Hawking first comforted him and then explained. "I estimate that your ability to float and your sudden increase in strength are due to some kind of reaction between your body and the truck of military chemicals. This situation is actually not special, so there is no need to worry. As long as you get used to it, you can master your special abilities. I don't want these abilities, I just want them to be able to come back to me, or let me go to them." Jessica wiped away her tears and said in a dazed tone. Hawking immediately became serious when he saw this. "Jessica, the dead cannot be resurrected. The living still need to live. I think you can use your ability to help those in need so that similar tragedies will never happen again. Think about it. If there was someone like you nearby when you were in a car accident and she was willing to help, the tragedy would not have happened. But can I do it on my own?" After hearing Hawking's words, Jessica was suddenly startled. Perhaps God allowed her to survive this car accident and gave her special abilities just to prevent those tragedies from happening, as Hawking said. However, she is just a high school student. Can she really take on this responsibility? Maybe not now, but if you are willing to accept my training, then there is hope. Hawking took Jessica to a deserted alley outside and cast a transformation spell to transform into the standard armor. "It's you." And Jessica immediately recognized Hawking's identity. Although she has been hospitalized, there is a TV in the ward, so she has naturally seen the reports about Armor Man and Spider-Man on TV. At that time, she had thought in her mind that if Armor Man and Spider-Man were nearby on the day of the car accident, his family would not have died. "Yes, it's me. I plan to form a League of Legends and find a group of like-minded superpowers to prevent more tragedies from happening. Jessica, will you join us?" Jessica looked at the golden Hawking in the alley. The warm sunshine shone on him, reflecting a dazzling light, like a god. After about 5 seconds of silence, she stepped out of the shadows in the alley, and finally a long-lost smile appeared on her face. "I do. After a person commits suicide once without success, it is actually very difficult for a person to muster the courage to commit suicide a second time. It happened that she met Hawking again and was given a new reason to live. You did a good job. I will come here at this time every day to help you adapt to your abilities until you fully master them." In an open space not far from the hospital, after helping Jessica conduct an ability test and auxiliary control exercises for about an hour, Hawking left a word and prepared to leave for the Osmanthus group. Jessica asked breathlessly, "When can I join you to fight criminals and help those in need?" "Then it depends on when you can control your abilities." Hawking restored Jessica's hospital gown and left the clearing on his motorcycle. Jessica's strength is much lower than Peter's, and she probably hasn't fully mastered it yet, but she has the ability to fly to supplement it, and after a certain period of training, she will definitely be a good helper. Young people are still easy to fool. Riding on the motorcycle, Hawking couldn't help but sigh. Peter and Jessica are both high school students, and they are relatively well behaved, so when their hearts are fragile, they can easily be fooled by Hawking's few words. If it were an experienced adult, it probably wouldn't work. For example, the cunning Green Goblin he will face next. Of course, to deal with the Green Goblin, he would definitely have to find another more appropriate method, that is, beat him up first and then talk. For someone with a cunning character like the Green Goblin, you must use absolute strength to defeat him first. Let him understand the gap in strength between the two sides. Let him understand that you have the strength to easily kill his whole family, and you will do the same. Only when we have this premise before we talk about cooperation can we avoid a lot of trouble in advance. Hello, I would like to find your chairman, Mr. Norman Osborne. Hawking, who was wearing a Midtown High School uniform, said anxiously to the female receptionist on the first floor of the AO industrial building. The female receptionist looked at Hawking with a confused look on her face. Do you have an appointment? I am a classmate of Mr. Norman Osborne's son Harry. Harry is injured, very seriously. Hawking's face was still full of anxiety. After hearing what Hawking said, the female receptionist didn't dare to neglect. She directly picked up the phone and called the chairman's office to report the situation here. Soon, Norman O'Brien rushed out of the elevator and came to Hawking. How is Harry? Where is he now? He accidentally fell down from the second floor and broke his leg. I'll take you over to have a look. Hawking took Norman's arm and was about to walk out of the company. Although Norman, who loved his son very much, had doubts in his heart, he did not refuse immediately because of his own strength. Then I'll call him first. His mobile phone was also broken. Hawking replied without any hesitation. Norman narrowed his eyes. Okay, go to the parking lot. We'll drive there. You show us the way. If it is true, then you must go there immediately. If it is false, then just find out who is behind the scenes and what their purpose is. A moment later, a Rolls-Royce sped out from the O'Clinic industrial building, with Norman Osborne driving the car and the carefree Hawking sitting behind. As long as you are willing to come out, it will be easy. Looking at the expressionless Norman in front of him, Hawking thought to himself. He knew Norman wouldn't believe him easily, but it didn't matter. He didn't need Norman to really believe it. Yes, turn left, then turn right at the next intersection. Under Hawking's command, the Rolls-Royce finally stopped in front of a luxurious villa. Are you sure this is where Harry broke his leg? At this time, Norman was completely sure that his son's injury was fake and that the other party had other motives. He was just reminiscing. In his memory, he had never seen Hawking, Harry's classmate, nor had he heard Harry mention it. Moreover, it was only after 4 o'clock at this time. According to Harry's personality, it was impossible to go home so early. Harry still had club activities to participate in. The last and most suspicious thing was that he found that since getting on the bus, Hawking, a classmate who called himself Harry, no longer had the same anxiety as at the beginning. It was simply too obvious. Chapter 62 The Frightened Green Goblin. Oh, I lied to you. I only asked you to go home and put on your suit and glider, so that the fight would be more interesting. Hawking replied expressionlessly. If you want to defeat the opponent, you must put the opponent in the state where he thinks he is the strongest, so that he can realize what the gap is. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not funny to joke like this. Norman suddenly changed and looked back at Hawking with a very dangerous look. How could he not be surprised that Hawking actually knew about the suit and the glider? You must know that the hang glider designed by the Ayashi Group has been stolen in the public news, and the suit was designed and manufactured by him afterwards, and no one knew about it. It was used for the first time yesterday when it exploded at the Exploration Aerospace Industries' 6th test site. Mr. Norman, stop pretending. I know you did what happened yesterday. Now I'll give you time to go inside and get your suit. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't have a chance. I'm going to hit you hard. If you're not careful, you might die. Hawking reached out and pushed open the door and got out of the car. Norman narrowed his eyes, and murderous intent flashed in his eyes. I think this must be a misunderstanding. I was at home yesterday, but didn't go out. With a very deceptive smirk on his face, he opened the door and got out of the car and walked to Hawking. Just before waiting for Hawking to answer, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed Hawking's neck like lightning, and lifted him up at once. Tell me, who are you? The power is not small. It seems that the human body enhancer you invented is very effective. However, facing Norman's chokehold, Hawking smiled without any concern. But it's still too weak for me. His right leg kicked out like lightning, hitting Norman directly in the chest. The powerful force made Norman's eyes suddenly bulge, and then he flew out directly, slamming into the iron gate of his villa, knocking out the human-shaped concave mark on the iron gate. The Green Goblin's physique has indeed been greatly improved due to the effect of the human body enhancer, but his strength is still much lower than Spider-Man after all. Spider-Man's strength is as high as 25 tons, while the Green Goblin only has 9 tons. Hand-to-hand combat is no match for Spider-Man. The main reason for being able to fight Spider-Man is because of his high-tech weapons. So in terms of pure strength, he is naturally no match for Hawking. Can't beat it. Norman fell from the iron door, covering his chest and looking at Hawking standing in front of him with his hands behind his back, and he immediately made a judgment in his heart. Just at that moment, he knew that his body was not on the same level as the other person's. So he jumped over the iron gate and quickly ran towards the room in his villa. When Hawking saw this, he didn't stop him. He also jumped over the iron gate, walked slowly to the fountain of the villa, sat down and waited. Fa ga ga, go to hell. After a while, a guy wearing a green demon armor and flying gliders attacked Hawking with a strange smile. At this time, Hawking also loaded the Wukong template, directly increasing the combat power to 285. His own combat power is 145, and the Wukong template's combat power is 140. The total combat power is 285 points, which is almost the same as Goku, who drank the super divine water, and Piccolo, who restored his youthful state. It's not that he can't beat the Green Goblin with his own combat power of 145, but it's so that the Green Goblin can more clearly experience the gap in strength and experience what despair is. Da 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 da. 2 machine guns rose from the Green Goblin's glider, and before they could reach Hawking, countless bullets were already pouring out. That's it. Hawking sat by the fountain without moving his buttocks. He just raised his right hand, turned into afterimages, and caught all the dense bullets. This scene also frightened the Green Goblin to stop his glider. The thing on his glider was a machine gun, not an ordinary pistol. Can he catch the bullets from the machine gun with his bare hands? Then try this again. The Green Goblin did not believe in evil, so he took out 2 pumpkin-shaped metal bombs from his suit and threw them at Hawking's feet. At the same time, he also threw out several extremely sharp high-tech rotating flying knives, drawing various weird arcs and attacking Hawking. The key. Boom! Boom! The pumpkin bomb exploded successfully, and the entire fountain was blown into the sky, causing countless water splashes to shoot out. Ha ha ha! Let's see how you answer it. Standing on the hang glider, the Green Goblin put his hands on his hips and smiled proudly, like a psychopath. The pumpkin bomb is a special bomb he designed himself. It is much more powerful than ordinary grenades, and it is coupled with a sharp spiral flying knife that can cut ordinary metals. He didn't believe that he still couldn't kill the monster below. How to take it? Just take it like this. However, at this time, a voice full of joking came from the disgust after the explosion below, making his body suddenly startled. This is impossible. The smoke dissipated, and Hawking, who was wrapped in a layer of air, was unscathed, and the rotating flying knives were lying on Hawking's hands, but the blades had all been shattered. Obviously, his proud pumpkin bombs and spinning knives could not hurt Hawking at all. Escape. Without saying a word, the Green Goblin directly controlled the glider to turn around and run away. Physical strength is no match for him, and various high-tech weapons can't even break through defenses. Such a monster is simply not something he can deal with. Why not escape and be killed? Did you escape? Hawking sneered, and then shouted into the air, "Some assault cloud." A white cloud flew from a distance and stopped in front of Hawking. Hawking jumped on the white cloud and quickly chased the escaping Green Goblin. The speed of the somersault cloud is Mach 1.5. which is 1,837.62 kilometers/hour, and the Green Goblin's glider's ultimate speed is only 500 kilometers/hour, so Hawking can chase it quite easily. It's just that he didn't catch up directly, but kept hanging behind the Green Goblin, constantly creating oppression and fear for him, and forcing him to fly away from the city and towards the sea. When the two came to the deserted sea, he pointed forward casually. "Get smaller quickly." The glider under the Green Goblin's feet instantly became the size of a palm, and the Green Goblin fell out of the air without noticing. Reaching out for the shrunken glider, Hawking stepped on the somersault cloud to fish up the Green Goblin that fell into the sea again, and quickly gained altitude. Super atmospheric bomb. He grabbed the Green Goblin with one hand, raised up the energy about the size of a basketball with the other hand, and threw it into the sea below. Boom. A huge explosion rose in the sea, making the Green Goblin stunned. After being stunned for a full minute, he took off his mask with some trembling, looked at Hawking and asked, You, what do you want? Do you want to send me to prison?" He already clearly understood that with Hawking's strength, it would be too easy to kill him, and he would have no ability to resist at all. The other party is just teasing him so far. Chapter 63, Negotiating a Business. Send you to jail? Of course not. I'm not a policeman. I just want to negotiate a business deal with you. Hawking carried the Green Goblin and showed a kind smile. Green Goblin, you must be sick. Just talk about business. Why bother to engage in such a big battle? It will scare him so much that he will fly away. Go back to your villa first. Carrying the Green Goblin, Hawking flew back to the Green Goblin's villa at full speed on somersault clouds. But before leaving, he took a meaningful look at the sky. At the same time, the director's office in the Sanqui building. Nick Fury also looked solemnly at Hawking flying away with the Green Goblin in the video. This guy's strength is getting more and more terrifying. How could he not care about such a terrifying mutant like Hawking, who has been secretly monitoring him in various ways, including Peter Parker, who he had come into contact with, who was bitten by a spider, and Jessica Campbell, who he had just come into contact with, who seemed to have the ability to fly, as well as the chairman of Ayashi Industries. It's just that Hawking has always been fighting crime and has not violated the agreement he made with Professor X. He has no reason to interfere. Are you really looking for some friends with special abilities to play a crime-fighting game? Nick Fury touched his chin and fell into thought. He always felt that this matter was not that simple, but he could not imagine what other purposes Hawking or Professor X had. After all, except for Hawking, the other mutants in the mutant school have been quiet until now. Just like before, only Professor X spent money to buy the Daily Bugle, which feels a little strange. Forget it, even if they make any moves, they probably won't pose any danger to humans. Unexpectedly, he stopped thinking about it. At least according to his judgment, even if Hawking and Professor right now, he mainly needs to focus on the Brotherhood of Mutants, which may have problems at any time, and internal self-examination. As long as Magneto finds an opportunity, he will definitely cause trouble, and it is probably not a small matter for him. The incident where S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were infiltrated 3 years ago has always been a thorn in his heart. He always felt that things were not as simple as the investigation. A terrorist organization could actually instigate agents trained in S.H.I.E.L.D. schools to rebel so easily, which he couldn't accept. Even if there was no problem at all in the investigation process, it was even perfect. But the more perfect it is, the more problematic it is for him. And if there is really a problem, it is definitely a huge problem, because since the results of the investigation can be presented so perfectly, it means that there must be a problem with the entire top management of S.H.I.E.L.D. So in the past 3 years, he has been carefully conducting self-examination and already has some clues. Director, the results of the experiment are out. While he was thinking, Agent Hill knocked on the door and walked in. How about it? His attention immediately shifted to Agent Hill's report. Hill took his laptop and began to report. We have now created an antidote that can incapacitate mutants, and a matching firing firearm made entirely of non-metal. However, after our experiments, we found that this antidote cannot completely incapacitate mutants and transform into humans. It can only last for a week, and will develop resistance with the number of times it is used. Once it exceeds 3 times, it basically no longer takes effect. If we continue to research, since we can't completely eliminate mutants' abilities, let's try to see if we can make relevant limiters. At least, I want to make sure that after capturing the mutants, I can restrict their ability to use them for a long time. Nick Fury nodded and ordered. The power beyond his control must be shackles with corresponding restrictions, otherwise it will be too late when the day comes when he loses control. The sky above the Osborn family's luxury mansion in Queens. Hawking placed the green goblin on the ground and then cast a few repair spells to restore the villa's iron gate and fountain to their original appearance. A big stick and a carrot. Just given the big stick, the next step is the carrot. Otherwise, even if they cooperate, the green goblin will only hold a grudge against him, which will not last long. And watching Hawking raise his hand to repair the iron gate and fountain with incredible means, the green goblin couldn't help but swallow his saliva again. This guy is not only terrifyingly powerful, he also has many terrifying methods. He seems to be omnipotent, which really makes him unable to figure out the depth. I can't fight again, and I can't run away. I just hope that the so-called business discussed by the other party won't go too far. Don't be nervous, Mr. Norman. What I value most is the principle of equal exchange, and I never like to force others. If you feel that the cooperation we are going to talk about is not beneficial to you, or you are not willing, then I will never use force to force you, so you can rest assured. In the living room of the villa, Hawking smiled as he looked at the green goblin who had changed back into his suit and looked very unnatural. The green goblin forced a smile upon hearing this. Of course I believe Mr. Hawking. I wonder what business Mr. Hawking is talking about. He said he believed it, but in his heart he didn't believe it at all. The big explosion in the sea just now was still vivid in his mind. Hawking did not explain anything further, but said directly, I need to open a company. I need you to help me with all the procedures in the early stage. Later, I will cooperate with your Oshi industry to jointly develop various products, and then we will cooperate and make money together. Believe me, this cooperation will definitely take your Ayashi industry to a new level. Professor X cannot take over the founding of the League of Legends company, otherwise it will become Professor X's industry like the Daily Bugle. As for how to explain to Professor X after the company was established, he had already prepared the corresponding excuse. In fact, he is no longer what he used to be. With his fighting power, he can still live comfortably even if he is completely separated from Professor X. Therefore, even if Professor X really knew some things, it would not be a big deal. Just like when he killed Stryker, I believe Professor some things just turn a blind eye and pass. As long as he doesn't do too much, Professor. Just like Wolverine. Wolverine has killed a lot of people and rarely spared his life, but he will still be accepted by Professor X. Because those are minor issues and do not touch the bottom line. Of course, he is not a person who burns bridges when crossing rivers. As long as Professor Mr. Hawking, there is no problem with the former. I can help you handle it all personally. But for the latter, I can't make the decision alone, and it requires a vote from the board of directors. The Green Goblin's expression froze upon hearing this, and then he replied cautiously, fearing that he would offend Hawking and be killed on the spot. Chapter 64. It's so stupid. The Green Goblin doesn't believe in the so-called win-win cooperation at all. How can he just create a company and cooperate with Ayashi Industrial for a win-win situation? Nothing in the world is that easy. If it were, everyone would be rich. But he didn't mind supporting the so-called company opened by Hawking for the sake of his own life. Anyway, it was just a matter of spending some money, but he would be less willing to cooperate further. He has two bottom lines. One is the Ayashi company that he has spent decades of hard work on, and the other is his son Harry. If the other party wanted to cannibalize his Ayashi industry in this way, he would definitely not be willing to do so, but he did not dare to refuse, so he used the board of directors as a shield. After all, this is also a fact. When it comes to cooperation between companies, the board of directors must vote and approve it. Board of directors? Mr. Norman, you don't have to think too much. I have no other intentions and I have no interest in your Austin Industries. In this way, in order to express my sincerity in cooperation, I will tell you a piece of information for free here. Hawking didn't understand the Green Goblin's worries, and then smiled and said, "You may not know that the directors on your board of directors have formed an alliance in private. They plan to remove you as chairman, and then together sell your entire Ayashi Industries to Exploration Aerospace Industries." Impossible, how could they do this? I founded the company. Do they know how much I sacrificed for it? When my wife Emily died in the hospital, I didn't have time to see her for the last time because of things at the company. You must have lied to me. After hearing Hawking's words, the Green Goblin lost control of his emotions and stood up from the sofa. Did I lie to you? You can check it out yourself. I believe that with your current ability, you should be able to find out easily. Hawking sat on the sofa and spread his hands. Before he became the Green Goblin, Norman's IQ was basically used in scientific research and creation. Most of the inventions of Austin Industries came from his hands, and he did many things himself, which led to his current achievements. Unfortunately, because he was too obsessed with his own research, the company's power was eclipsed by the directors on the board of directors. A typical scientist cannot play the capitalist series. The Green Goblin, who has awakened his evil personality, has truly maximized his IQ. He is not only a qualified scientist, but also a qualified capitalist and a conspirator. Okay, if it's like what you said, then I will handle them well and cooperate with you. After calming down, the Green Goblin sat back on the sofa. At this time, he had generally believed the information provided by Hawking, because he felt that with Hawking's strength, there seemed to be no need to lie to him, and recalling what the directors did during this period, there was indeed something unusual. Then I wish us happy cooperation in the future. Hawking stretched out his right hand, and the Green Goblin was stunned for a moment before also stretching out his right hand. Happy to work with. By the way, cooperation is cooperation, but I don't want anyone to see you wearing that suit if there is any murder in New York these days. Sometimes, you can just be more low-key when doing bad things. Finally, Hawking left a meaningful word, turned his clothes into golden armor, and left the villa on somersault clouds. It turns out to be him. Looking at Hawking's iconic golden armor, the Green Goblin still doesn't know that he is the famous armored man during this period. It seems that this person is not as righteous as everyone thought. That's okay, maybe we can really work together and do some big things together. After knowing Hawking's identity, he became really interested in the next cooperation with Hawking, especially the meaningful words Hawking just said when he left. The subtext is obvious, that is, he can kill those directors, and the other party will not care, as long as he does not reveal his identity. How could such a person be a truly righteous superhero? Hopefully this guy will be smarter. On the way back to the mutant school on the somersault cloud, Hawking thought to himself, if the Green Goblin doesn't make small moves, then in the future, Oshi Industries, as his cooperative company in League of Legends, will naturally rise, and it is not impossible to become a company that can keep pace with Stark Industries. If the Green Goblin is stupid enough to do something small in this situation, then don't blame him for being ruthless. You know, if he wants to, the company he can cooperate with is not just Oshi Industries. There are many companies of similar strength in New York. Halfway through the return journey, Wukong's template time ended and he rode back on the motorcycle 8 p.m. Hawking left the room as usual, went to the public hall on the second floor to find Wanda, who was watching TV, and went to the battle simulation room to practice together. The armored man is so handsome. I will also get a silver armor in the future, and then I will travel through the city like lightning to rescue those in need. As soon as he arrived in the living room, he heard the adoring voice of his younger brother Pietro. It turned out that a few little guys were watching the news, and what was reported in the news was some videos of him and Peter fighting criminals in Hell's Kitchen these past 2 days. Have a vision. Hearing that his brother admired him so much, Hawking stood at the door and couldn't help but nodded secretly. Humph, I think Spider-Man is more handsome. Bu, he can shoot out spider webs to entangle those bad guys. At this time, another mutant student gave his own explanation, unconvinced. Others also have their own opinions. Some like Armor Man, some like Spider-Man, and of course some are not interested in either. Just when he was about to call out to Wanda, a word suddenly stopped him in his tracks. Those things about Armor Man and Spider-Man are just ridiculous. Their costumes are ridiculous. Their names are ridiculous. There's nothing special about them at all. The person who spoke was none other than his beloved sister Wanda. It hurts my heart, my good sister. Hawking's face was immediately filled with embarrassment. He thought he was wearing a handsome outfit, but he didn't expect it to look so vulgar in the eyes of his sister. He was really a little sad. Wanda, what did you say? Those students were obviously very dissatisfied with Wanda talking about their idol. Wanda raised her right hand with disdain, revealing her red chaos magic. What? Do you want to fight? Okay, do it one by one, or together. Everyone immediately shut up when they saw this. They were no match for Wanda, who knew all kinds of strange magic. So they all looked at Pietro. Pietro shrugged, with a look of helplessness on his face. Although he was the older brother, he was only 12 minutes older, so he couldn't control Wanda, the younger sister, and Wanda had Hawking's support behind her. HMPH, even Armor Man and Spider-Man are not even 1/10 as handsome as my brother Hawking. Upon seeing this, Wanda took back her hand proudly, and Hawking, who had just turned around and was about to stop practicing for a day, turned back again with a smile on his face. Wanda, let's go, we should go practice. Seeing the essence through the phenomenon, she is indeed my sister. Okay, Hawking, I'm here. As soon as Hawking appeared, Wanda, who looked like a big sister just now, immediately turned into a well-behaved and cute little sister. The other students looked stunned and said that girls can change their faces really fast. Chapter 65 Venom is coming. At 10 o'clock in the evening, Hawking, who had finished his training half an hour early, came to Professor X's principal's office. Professor, I think it's time to start. Okay, then I will immediately ask someone to register a new company and then start promoting it according to your plan. Professor X nodded in agreement upon hearing this. For more than a month, thanks to Hawking's continuous efforts, the expected results have indeed been achieved. The response from most people in New York has been positive. This also convinced him that Hawking's plan was indeed feasible. He could then increase investment and select more mutants to join. But then Hawking shook his head. Professor, my idea is this. This company cannot be registered by you. It is even better not to have other mutants participate in the early stage. You have to wait until the company reaches a certain scale before starting to add mutants one by one. Why is this happening? Professor Hawking went on to explain. Professor, during this period of time, I discovered that the general public's prejudice against mutants is really deep. Even if I didn't reveal my identity as a mutant, many people would change their attitudes after guessing that I was a mutant, and they would say all kinds of things. Such conspiracy theories. You should be able to see these professors when you read the news and surf the internet. If this company was registered and developed with your investment, and it was exposed later, it would confirm those conspiracy theories. Many people would think that this company emerged to whitewash mutants. At the same time, S.H.I.E.L.D. is expected to take action. But Hawking, you are also a mutant. After your identity is exposed, people will still be suspicious, and you will also face these problems. Professor X was not angry at Hawking's explanation, but raised his own doubts. Hawking sighed. Professor, I'm sorry. There's something I haven't told you. That is, I am not actually a mutant. My abilities come from some unknown existence. At this time, Hawking confessed his identity to Professor X. If the target is Magneto, then he will never confess his identity, because Magneto only trusts mutants. But Professor X is different. Even if you are not a mutant, as long as you are close to a mutant, he will trust you. Of course, this is not the main reason why he confessed his identity. The main reason is that his non-mutant identity will be revealed sooner or later. If the League of Legends company wants to develop globally, if he is a mutant, he will inevitably be greatly hindered. Because for the entire human race, what do you want as a mutant? To set up a company, recruit a bunch of mutants to gain public traffic, and invade all walks of life? Do you want to control the entire human race? But if his identity is a human being with special abilities due to special circumstances like the Avengers, then it will naturally be different. So sooner or later you have to say it, so tell Professor X in advance, so that Professor X will feel better. After all, before it was made public, the entire world except for Hawking himself, Professor X knew that he was not a mutant. It turns out you are really not a mutant. Upon hearing Hawking's answer, Professor X was stunned for a moment, and then showed a slightly disappointed look. He has long had doubts about Hawking's identity as a mutant, because he cannot sense Hawking's brainwaves that are unique to mutants, and Hawking's abilities are beyond his general understanding of mutants. But in my heart, even if Hawking is really not a mutant, as long as his heart is towards mutants, it's not a big deal. Of course, there must be some disappointment. He must still hope that a child as powerful and outstanding as Hawking will be a mutant. But Professor, don't worry. Even though I'm not a mutant, my philosophy is consistent with yours. My brother and sister are mutants, my friend teacher is a mutant, and my adoptive parents are human. So I also hope that mutants and humans can live in peace, and that mutants can be recognized by humans in the future without any prejudice. But in the current situation, it is indeed necessary to clear away the relationship with mutants first before the company can develop. After it has established a firm footing, mutants can be added to the company one by one to promote it and let everyone slowly accept it. Seeing Professor X's slightly disappointed expression, Hawking explained again. In response, Professor X raised his head and looked into Hawking's eyes. Hawking, if I don't participate, how are you going to set up a company, and then how are you going to survive the early stages of development? It's not easy to start a company like you plan. Don't worry about this. The father of my friend who is with me and his classmate happens to be the chairman of Ayashi Group. He is willing to cooperate with me, so there will be no problems in the early stage. When the company develops and mutants are gradually added, and the professor uses the power of the family to help, no one will be able to say anything. Hawking replied with a smile. Today he came to the professor specifically and patiently explained so many things. In fact, most of them were true, but there was only one core point. That is, the dominance of the League of Legends company he created in the future must be in his own hands, not in the hands of Professor X and his family. Professor, I don't know if he understood the core of Hawking or thought of something else. Professor X fell into deep thought. For a time, the whole principal's office could hear the drop of needles. After about a minute, Professor X seemed to have figured something out, and finally the same smile as before appeared on his face. Okay, Hawking, you always have your own ideas, so just do it according to your ideas. If you are in trouble or need any help, come to me at any time. This school will always be your home, and everyone will always be your family. Whether you are a mutant or not, these will not change. Professor, thank you for trusting me. Hearing Professor X's answer, Hawking was secretly relieved. After staying for 3 years, it is definitely impossible to say that there is no emotion. However, some things must be made clear in advance, otherwise it will only be more troublesome later. Very good. The next step is to focus on improving our strength and developing the company step by step. It would be best to recruit a few more civilian heroes with clean identities like Peter and Jessica. The more heroes there are, the faster the company can develop. After leaving the principal's office, Hawking returned to his room to tidy up and headed to Queens to meet Peter as usual. At the same time, on a spacecraft of the Life Foundation outside the Earth. Life No. 1 called the Foundation Control Center. The samples have been collected and are returning. Roger, Life 1, preparing to return to the atmosphere. Understood. The re-entry process is being started. Coordinates are 0.4103. Oh, hell, what is this? Close the hatch quickly. Help. The signal is unstable. The control center is calling Life No. 1. Please answer. Please answer. Do. Chapter 66 Clues to the Apocalypse. Half a year later, the Brotherhood of Mutants base. After listening to the report of the middle-aged mutant below, Magneto sneered at Raven next to him. Look, humans are like this. They are always so arrogant. They either want to kill us all, or they want to put collars on us and make us their dogs. Charles always naively thought that one day we could coexist peacefully, and this war was always about death for you and me. SHIELD can use its rights to recruit mutant agents to sneak into the Brotherhood to monitor Magneto, so why can't Magneto use mutants to sneak into SHIELD to obtain intelligence? Long before, he had used a level 2 mutant who could sense minds to find out the SHIELD agents lurking in the Brotherhood, and successfully brainwashed one of them using his own set of mutant theories. So he also knew that S.H.I.E.L.D. had created potions that could temporarily invalidate mutants' abilities and special collars and handcuffs that restricted mutants' abilities. Humans deserve to die. Let me kill that one-eyed dragon. Mystique's eyes flashed with murderous intent. With her transformation ability, she has a high chance of success if she wants to sneak into S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters and assassinate Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. However, Magneto shook his head. It's not necessary. He is just a nobody. If you kill him, someone else will take his place. What I want is to eliminate future troubles forever and wipe the entire S.H.I.E.L.D., or rather the entire human race, from the face of the earth. The Brotherhood of Mutants has recruited a large number of mutants in recent years, and its strength has indeed become much stronger. But if it comes to joining S.H.I.E.L.D., to be honest, he is not sure yet. Not only are they afraid of Captain Marvel, but once he initiates a war, the naive guy Charles will also intervene. Hawking under Charles is very troublesome. Unless he has the power to solve both sides at the same time, the result of forcefully forcing his side will inevitably end in a disastrous defeat. Of course, SHIELD is actually secretly manufacturing potions and collars that limit the abilities of mutants. If this information reaches Charles, it might allow him to remain neutral. But now he feels that it is still a little early because he still has some preparations to complete. Riven, how is the investigation going on the legendary first mutant? There are some clues so far. According to the records I found, the last place he disappeared should be Cairo, Egypt. But do you really think he might still be alive? Mystique said with some disbelief. During a latent mission, she accidentally obtained information about the legendary first mutant, Apocalypse. Legend has it that Apocalypse once ruled the entire human race more than 5,600 years ago and was known as a godlike existence. I didn't think he could live that long. I just wanted to see if we could find something that would help us. Anyway, we're not ready yet, so let's go to Cairo to relax. Magneto replied with a smile. Mystique nodded. Okay, I have found out the location of the pyramid where he disappeared from the remaining believers of Apocalypse. I believe I should be able to find something useful. Manhattan, New York, weekend afternoon, basement of League of Legends International Corporation. You two use your full strength and don't hold back. Yes, that's it. Peter, that's a good kick. Jessica, that's a decent punch. Hawking was wearing a 200-pound overweight training suit modified by the Green Goblin with high technology, and was conducting close combat training with Peter and Jessica. On the one hand, close combat training can further develop Peter and Jessica's strength, and on the other hand, it can also have a good improvement effect on his strength. Compared to practicing alone, it is definitely better to practice with someone. It is difficult for a mutant school to provide this. The students are still too weak and the professors have their own affairs. It is impossible to set time to practice with him every day, especially if it is a one-sided crushing. Moreover, there are not many powerful mutants in the school. For example, Wolverine's explosive power is only about 5 tons, Deathwoman is less than 4 tons, and the beast with the strongest physical strength is only 9 tons. If the strength is too small, there will be no training effect. For example, under his half-year training, Peter and Jessica have been able to stably exert their strength to about 15 tons, and at their limit, both of them can explode to more than 20 tons. But if you want to say who is more powerful between Peter or Jessica and Wolverine, it depends on the situation. Although Wolverine and the others are weak in strength, they have super recovery ability, adamantium alloy wolf claws, rich combat experience, and beast-like intuition. Spider-Man has a spider sense and Jessica can fly. So I can't say for sure without actually trying it. A temporary news break. An aerospace passenger plane over the high seas was hijacked by terrorists. It is currently known that 212 passengers were on board the flight. The terrorists threatened to bury them together with 212 passengers. Next, I would like to invite Eddie, the reporter from the Bugle Daily, to provide you with real-time follow-up reports. Hello everyone, I'm Eddie. Hawking was in the middle of practicing when the news suddenly broke on the TV next to him, causing him to stop immediately. 212 people, this is a good job. Saving more than 200 people at one time was definitely comparable to the amount of justice he earned in a month. How could he not be moved? Prepare for action. Hawking stretched out his hand and his training clothes immediately transformed into his signature battle clothes. Peter and Jessica also immediately opened their coats, revealing the tights underneath. Peter still wears the classic spider tights, while Jessica designed a black leather suit similar to Catwoman's and a similar mask. Set off. Taking the elevator straight to the top of the 6th floor, Hawking then used the air dance to take off. Jessica used her own abilities to take off, and Peter shot out spider silk from the left and right to hang on the feet of Hawking and Jessica. The 3 of them formed a V shape and flew towards the high seas. Not long after he cooperated with the Green Goblin half a year ago, several directors of Ayashi Industries were unfortunately killed in a cruise ship party, and Ayashi Industries fell into the hands of the Green Goblin. Then, with the help of the Green Goblin, he established League of Legends International Corporation in a 6-story building in Manhattan. Of course, there must have been some twists and turns, such as the government's doubts about the nature of their company, the copyright of the 3 people's images and subsequent security issues, etc. However, with the help of the Green Goblin and after contacting Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Professor X, this was basically solved. Some of them were because the 3 were so popular in New York that the government had to make a certain degree of compromise. Moreover, Hawking, as the person in charge, promised that the superheroes will only assist the police in fighting criminals and abide by government laws, and that all losses caused by superheroes will be borne by League of Legends International. Chapter 67 Welcome to the League of Legends. This is nothing. Hawking can afford to pay for the small loss. The 3 of them are now treated like superstars. They can make a lot of money whenever they take the time to shoot commercials or engage in endorsements. There are also various clothes, dolls, and other products with the image of 3 people that Ayashi Industrial has now transformed to produce, and the profit sharing is also very high. If it doesn't work, he will personally use the repair spell to repair it. If the damage is too great, then load the Harry Potter template to further improve the effect of the repair spell. Have you figured out how to save me? Halfway through, Peter from behind asked loudly. Jessica looked back at Peter with some confusion. That's not easy. Let's get on the plane, kill those terrorists, and then I'll drag the plane down. You see, this is what Superman does in the comics. It won't work. Superman can emit a force field to protect the plane, but we can't. And there is no foothold in the air. Even if you two can fly and hold up the plane will eventually disintegrate and the passengers will not survive at all. As a gifted college student, Peter certainly knew this simple physics knowledge very well. Some things cannot be taken for granted, otherwise you will end up doing bad things with good intentions. Peter is right. You must think more about it when rescuing people in the future. But don't worry, I have a solution. Hawking heard the conversation between the two and interrupted with a smile. Compared to Jessica, Peter is much more reliable in doing things. He basically completes every task well and does not cause damage. Jessica is worse in this regard. According to the location reported in the news, the three people quickly found the passenger plane flying towards New York at sea. Opened the Alaho hole. When it was level with the plane door, Hawking unlocked it and opened the door instantly. The three of them rushed into the plane in unison and then knocked down the terrorists who were holding the passengers hostage with guns in 3 strokes. Spider-Man, Golden Flash, Flying Knight. Seeing the 3 people appearing, the passengers screamed, then picked up their mobile phones and started taking pictures. Helping the police fight crime, accepting advertisements, endorsements, taking sexy and cool photos, and promoting various commercial promotions, they are more famous and popular than Hollywood stars. Because Armored Man was previously disliked by Wanda, he changed his name to Golden Flash when the company was established. It's just that for the public, which name to call him depends entirely on personal preference. Anyway, it's him. However, just when the 3 Hawkings had just eliminated the 4 terrorists in the cabin, several gunshots were heard in the cab in front. Hawking rushed into the cab with Peter and Jessica. At this time, in the cab, the captain and co-pilot had been shot, and the last terrorist also committed suicide. However, what is even more troublesome is that the control panel of the plane has been damaged by the last terrorist and black smoke is emitting, obviously unable to fly normally. What to do? Jessica frowned when she saw this. Small problem, fixed as before. Hawking cast a repair spell to repair the console completely, and then asked Peter, "Can you fly a plane?" "No. I can only try to use the auxiliary system to allow him to continue flying as he is now." Peter immediately shook his head. He was just better at studying, but that didn't mean he could fly a plane. That required professionals. Jessica, go calm the passengers. Peter, use the pager to contact the control tower, tell them the current situation, and ask them to prepare the captain who can fly the plane. I will go down and pick him up. Hawking quickly gave instructions to Peter and Jessica, and then flew out of the hatch. In fact, he could also use the shrinking spell to shrink all the passengers one by one and take them out of the plane, but then the plane would be damaged and the job would not be beautiful enough, and it would be very tiring to cast the shrinking spell more than 200 times in a row. As for the 2 killed captain and co-pilot, there was nothing we could do. He was not a god. He could save everyone every time. If there are some unscrupulous people, you can let the public relations department hired by the Green Goblin handle it. They are very good at this. As long as many things are said from a different perspective, the public's reaction will be very different. The main thing depends on how it is said. Just like if you ask the priest whether you can smoke while praying and repenting, he will definitely not agree. But if you tell him that you want to pray and repent while smoking, then the priest's answer may be different. The same thing, different expressions have completely different effects. This is the role of public relations call out. The energy in Hawking's body was fully activated, and he increased the speed of Wukong technique to the extreme, and soon arrived at the agreed control tower. He had fully comprehended the Wukong technique 4 months ago, but with his current strength, Even if he flew at full strength, he would not be as fast as some assault clouds. And he won't fly at full speed unless necessary, because it consumes too much energy. His current combat power of less than 200 is not comparable to Goku in the Saiyan chapter, and his energy is definitely limited. When Raditz attacked, Wukong, who had a combat power limit of more than 900, was still used to flying with the help of some assault clouds, because the speed of some assault clouds at that time was faster than his own dance technique, and he did not have to use up the energy in his body. This captain is willing to go up and help. A handsome superhero came to the scene from King Huo, and several police chiefs quickly walked up with an old man who looked to be in his 50s. Old sir, don't be nervous. The plane has been repaired. You just need to control it to land normally. After comforting the somewhat nervous old man, he immediately used the shrinking spell to shrink the old man and held it in his hand to protect him, and then quickly flew towards the plane on the high seas. It's so amazing. The surrounding police, staff, and reporters were a little stunned when they saw this scene. They could actually shrink people to the size of a palm. This ability had never been heard of before. Returning to the plane again, he lifted the shrinking spell on the captain. Soon, under the skillful control of the captain, the plane entered a normal flight path and landed safely at the nearest airport. What greeted them was the cheers of the crowd and flashing lights. Peter and Jessica, who had long been accustomed to it, immediately started business with Hawking. Cooperate with a business to enhance the company's influence and allow more ordinary people to recognize them to facilitate daily actions. This is the behavioral purpose set by Hawking from the beginning. Hawking himself took the lead, and they had no reason to refuse. Besides, no one knows their identities except for the hoods and masks, so it doesn't really matter. Mr. Golden, what do you have to say about this operation? Seeing Eddie crowded at the front, Hawking picked up his microphone and said to the camera, "Although I saved everyone, I felt very sorry because when we arrived, the captain and co-pilot had been killed by terrorists. So I sincerely hope that the government can further cooperate with our company and notify us as soon as possible after the incident occurs, so that maybe the tragedy will not happen. Finally, I hope that other people on Earth with special abilities, if you want to join our great cause, please go to No XXX Street XXX to participate in the interview and selection. We welcome you to join the League of Legends." Chapter 68, Gravity Room. How is the research in the gravity chamber going? After the interview, Hawking arranged for Peter and Jessica to continue working in the advertising business, while he came to Osborne Industries and found the Green Goblin Norman Osborn. In the past, Osmanthus Industries mainly solicited government investment to manufacture various weapons, but after cooperating with Hawking, it began to transform. Relying on the popularity of Hawking's 3 superheroes, various extension projects have also obtained the exclusive copyright of League of Legends. With various developments, they are now making much more money than before. There is no risk or technical content, saving a lot of our /U0026D funds. Mainly, I think what Hawking said makes sense. There is no money to be made in weapons development. The giant Stark Group is holding down most of the business, and there are still companies like Exploration Aerospace and Hammer Industries fighting for it. The remaining half. Wherever it is like now, he is the only one doing it in the whole world, and there are no competitors at all. There have been some results, but according to our current technology, it can only achieve 1.5 times the gravity at most, which is not very stable. If we want to improve it, it will take time to improve slowly. The Green Goblin replied, pointing to a huge circular cabin in front of him. He didn't know why Hawking asked him to study the gravity chamber, a technological product that seemed to have little application value to Hawking's company. But since Hawking is willing to pay, and their cooperation is so happy so far, he will naturally not refuse. Nowadays, the scientists of Ayashi Industrial no longer need to study various missiles and weapons. They are basically studying the gravity chamber. It's just that the gravity chamber is a kind of technology that has never been seen before. Even if he took the entire Austrian industry scientists together and spent half a year, he could only build this 1.5 times gravity chamber. Keep it up. Hawking looked at the gravity chamber in front of him, his eyes sparkling. Although the 1.5 times is of no use to him now and is not as effective as Wanda's chaos magic, now that it is done, it will definitely be increased to 5 times, 10 times, or 100 times in the future. And as long as he has the gravity chamber and is willing to endure hardship, his strength will be greatly improved. The Green Goblin alone isn't enough. It seems we need to talk to Mr. Fantastic. The Green Goblin is indeed a powerful scientist, but his efficiency is too slow on his own. He actually wants to find Tony Stark, who is an expert in machines. But before he became Iron Man, this guy wasn't that easy to get along with. He was rich, proud, and arrogant. I'm afraid he wouldn't be willing to help research the gravity chamber just because of money. On the contrary, it was Mr. Miracle, who had just seen the news of its bankruptcy in the past 2 days, and there was a high possibility that he would use money to help him research the gravity chamber. According to his understanding, this amazing Mr. Reed Richards is known as the smartest man on Earth. He is a genius scientist who is best at inventions and creations. Of course, this only refers to IQ alone and does not include other aspects. For example, when Wanda entered the 838 universe, he did something stupid and exposed the shortcomings of his teammates, causing the entire Illuminati to be wiped out. And it is said that he is a troublemaker, who often escalates incidents that were not serious at first and resulted in extremely bad results because of some of his own ideas. Hawking would definitely not treat such a person like Peter and Jessica. Just like Professor So, the best way is not to let Mr. Fantastic be born, not to let him gain abilities, and to let him remain an ordinary person, a scientist who works in the laboratory all day long, helping him study the gravity chamber every day. In this way, even if he has any thoughts, Hawking can suppress them at any time. After seeing the research progress of the gravity chamber, Hawking immediately rode his motorcycle to the Baxter Building in Manhattan. The Baxter Building is a building bought by Reed Richards. It is just a mortgage. It has just reached the 4th installment. It is also the headquarters of the Illuminati in the future and the place where Wanda destroyed the Illuminati. I said, Reed, do you really want to cooperate with Victor? That guy is only interested in profit, and he was very jealous of your talent when you were in college. If you ask him for help, you will probably be humiliated by him when the time comes. In the office of the building, a sturdy bald man looked at his friend Reed Richards in front of him and advised him. Lyda's face was full of helplessness. I don't want to find him, but there is no way. The mortgage for the 4th phase of the building is about to be paid, and we have also encountered many obstacles during this period. The space agency does not believe in my project at all. Although Victor is a bit arrogant, he is not a bad person. His company happens to have another space station. If he is willing to cooperate, then this project will definitely be successful. I'm afraid he would hit your bamboo pole hard even if he wanted to. The bald man shook his head. Reed smiled and patted Ben on the shoulder. No big deal. I'll give him 25% of the profit. Besides, we're not here to make money. We hope to use this technology to evolve the whole person and make future children healthier and live longer. Excuse me, is Dr. Reed Richards here? At this moment, there was a knock on the office door. Reed quickly stood up and opened the door, and a handsome young man appeared in front of him. Hello, I am Reed Richards. Who are you? He obviously didn't recognize the young man in front of him. Hawking looked at Lyda and extended his right hand in a friendly manner. Hello, I am Hawking, the chairman of League of Legends International. I want to talk to you about something. Are you the chairman of League of Legends International Corporation? Hearing Hawking's words, Reed's eyes suddenly widened. He naturally knows that League of Legends International Corporation has been on the headlines of major newspapers every day in the past 6 months. Even the gossip about Playboy Tony Stark can only be ranked second. It's just that the chairman of the League of Legends company is very mysterious. He has never appeared in newspapers or news. Not to mention his appearance, no one knows his name. Many people even speculate that the leader of the three-color combination, Golden Flash, is probably the chairman of League of Legends International. Spider-Man's clothes are red, the golden glitter armor is gold, and the Flying Knight's leather jacket is pure black, so sometimes people call the combination of the three people a three-color combination. Such a young man suddenly appeared, claiming to be the chairman of League of Legends International Company. This was so true that it was hard for him to believe. He felt that the other person might be teasing him. Maybe you will believe me more when I look like this. Hawking stretched his hand towards himself, and his iconic golden armor immediately appeared. Chapter 69, The Great Wrong Dr. Destruction. Sorry, in my current situation, I can't help you research the gravity device. Maybe you can wait for another 2 years until I finish the project I'm currently working on. In the office, when he heard that Hawking was looking for him, Reed immediately waved his hand and refused. If under normal circumstances, he would not refuse to help a righteous superhero like Hawking research and invent some equipment. But now the project in his hands is more important. If it can be completed, it will not only bring his company back to life, but also benefit all humans on the Earth. That's it, but as far as I know, you are bankrupt now. There is only one security guard and one cleaner left in your building. Do you still have the money to continue working on the project you are currently working on? I think you can help me improve the gravity device first, and then continue researching your project when you have the money, Hawking suggested. Reed scratched his head in embarrassment. This did have some accidents, but I will be able to solve this problem soon. I am planning to ask my college classmates to invest in this project. When the project is completed, I will have a large amount of funds in my account. In fact, with his IQ, it would be easy to make money by casually researching some technological products, but he was too proud and disdained those low-level technologies. If he wants to study, he will study the kind of scientific and technological inventions that can change the entire human race, or that can span centuries. Just like his current project, which cost all his company's funds and several years of hard work, he can use the high-energy storm generated by the coronal solar wind to trigger the evolution of the entire life form. If this kind of evolution can be studied in space, it can fundamentally advance existing technology's understanding of human genes, thereby curing various terminal diseases, extending lifespan, and making future humans stronger. It seems that Dr. Lyda is very confident in his project, which makes me a little curious about it. If the project is really feasible, I am also very interested in investing. Hawking feigned interest. Investment that was impossible because he knew that this experiment would definitely fail. But because of this experiment, the four of them became the Fantastic Four, and Victor, the college classmate who invested in him, became Dr. Doom. They were cheated of billions, and the company's stock price plummeted, and it was on the verge of bankruptcy. But the research on my project must be conducted in space. Lyda's eyes lit up, then darkened again. Not every company has a space station, and he knows that the League of Legends company is not a technology research and development company. That's not a problem. I know some high-level people in the government. If you want to conduct research in space, it's not a problem for me. Hawking waved his hand. When Lyda heard this, he immediately took out a box from the desk next to him, then opened it and said, "Then let me introduce this project to you in detail." Don't be so anxious, Doctor. Lyda, I am more about fair competition. Let's do this. I'll go with you to find your college classmate first and see what conditions he will offer so that you won't suffer a loss. Hawking smiled and reached out to press the box that was about to be opened again. Let's leave this big villain to Dr. Doom. He only needs to prevent Reed from going to space later. Of course that's good. Reed was stunned for a moment, then nodded immediately. Originally, he had pinned his hopes on Victor, but now he has another hope, and two people are competing, which is of course the best. Ben, pack up, let's go find Victor now. How strong are you? On the way to Victor Tower, Ben, who was driving, curiously asked Hawking, who was sitting in the back. Unlike his college classmates Reed and Victor, he did not choose to start a business after graduation. Instead, he joined the army. Compared to scientific research, he was better at fighting and driving various vehicles, including space shuttles. He had seen on TV that Hawking could easily stop a full-speed van and throw away a truck weighing several tons. He had always been curious about how powerful Hawking was. I haven't really calculated this. Hawking spread his hands. He really didn't calculate it. In fact, if you don't count the Kai in his body, his physical body is not that exaggerated. The strength of a Dragon Ball World warrior is not only the physical body, but the most important thing is the Kai. Without the increase of Kai, both the attack and defense power of the physical body will be greatly reduced. It's like Vegeta, who transformed into a giant ape and had a combat power of 100,000. He carelessly did not use his energy to protect his tail, and was actually slashed by Archerope, who only had a combat strength of 970. Later, after he returned to his human form, he was attacked with a knife. There was a big gash on his back. Under normal circumstances, Kai protects the body, but if the gap in combat power is too large, it will be impossible to break through the defense. I really can't believe that with a figure like yours, you can have so much strength. Ben looked at his arms, which were as thick as Hawking's thighs, and couldn't help but sigh. Hawking did not answer when he heard this, but he secretly thought, "It doesn't matter, you will become a strong man soon." In his memory, after Ben turned into a stone man, he initially had 5 tons of strength. After slowly adapting and training, he could reach a maximum strength of 100 tons. The body is extremely hard, and its physical defense exceeds that of Colossus. They were all in Manhattan. In less than half an hour, the car drove to the Victor building. When they came face to face, they saw the huge metal figure erected at the door of the building. It was the owner of the building, Victor Von Doom. It's really a typical Victor approach. Ben looked at the statue with a hint of sarcasm on his face. He was upright and didn't like Victor's hypocrisy and arrogance. Reed nodded in agreement. He hopes that everyone standing here will feel ashamed of themselves, so that they can have the upper hand in negotiations. I thought generally only dead people would erect statues. Hawking looked at the exaggerated metal figure and made a joke. Ha ha ha, it seems like this is really the case. Ben burst into laughter upon hearing this. The 3 of them walked through the metal statue and walked into the building. Because Reed called Victor in advance, the 3 of them were smoothly sent to Victor's office by the beautiful female receptionist. "It's been such a long time no see, our great Reed and Ben, who is this?" When Victor met, he greeted his 2 old classmates with a hypocritical face, and then looked at Hawking with some confusion. Reed was about to introduce it when he was immediately interrupted by Hawking. "I am a friend of Dr. Reed." "Doctor Reed, please quickly introduce your project." "Okay, my project is like this." Reed opened his box and pressed a few buttons. A virtual projection immediately appeared above the office, and professional terms that Hawking didn't understand came out of his mouth. Over there, Victor seemed calm on the surface, but his heart was already turbulent. He knew that if this project was completed, it would definitely change the direction of the entire human race. The real value contained in it was far higher than his dead-headed classmate Reed had imagined. Therefore, he must definitely get the investment for this project. Chapter 70 Vicious Competition. "Okay, Reed, I have a general understanding of your project. It turns out that you not only want my money, you also want my space station." Victor interrupted Reed's eloquent explanation of the project and said expressionlessly, "But even NASA is unwilling to believe that your project can succeed. So why should I believe you?" Hearing the embarrassed look on Reed's face, he immediately laughed and said, "Just kidding. Seeing things that others can't see and always being one step ahead of others is my talent." "Oh, I really can't stand this." Ben next to him saw Victor's pretentious look and wanted to go up and punch him. Reed quickly comforted, "It's okay, don't be angry, this is just business, just work." "He's right, Ben, it's just business." At this time, at the door of the office, a blonde beauty wearing a women's professional suit walked over with a smile. "You all know my director of genetic research, Susan Stone." Seeing the blonde beauty, Victor said to Reed and Ben with some pride. Susan was the goddess recognized by everyone in the university at that time, and he also liked Susan, but unfortunately he later fell in love with Reed. But not long after graduating from college, the two had a quarrel and broke up. Because of his cleverness and methods to make the company bigger, he took the opportunity to invite Susan to become the director of his company. When he was in college, he was always beaten by Reed. He was always the second best, the kind who was left far behind. Now that he has a successful career, Reed is broke and wants to ask him for investment. Reed's girlfriend is now his girlfriend and he will propose to her soon. How can he be dissatisfied? Invisible Susan Stone. Hearing Victor call out the blonde beauty's name, Hawking's eyes narrowed. He didn't take the invisible woman seriously. She was good, but just like that. She could become invisible and control energy fields, but she didn't have any powerful output ability. What he really values is the invisible woman's son, Franklin, the strongest mutant with the title of magic power and the strongest elementary school student in Marvel. Franklin is a born level 5 mutant with a powerful ability to time travel, manipulate time, space, the law of cause and effect, modify reality, and create the universe. According to what he learned from watching short videos, Franklin seemed to have defeated the powerful Hell Lord Mephisto when he was a child, and created a pocket universe while playing in bed. Anyway, he estimates that when he fully controls his abilities as an adult, he will probably be a multiverse-level being. If the Invisible Woman was there with her son when Wanda invaded, it would be hard to say who would win. How about taking her down? At this time, an idea suddenly came to Hawking's mind, but he quickly rejected it. The special thing about Franklin is that no matter which universe he is in, no matter who the Invisible Woman finds as her husband, whether it is Dr. Doom or even another woman, Franklin is the one who gives birth to her child. In other words, if he is shameless and marries the Invisible Woman, the son he will give birth to in the future will also be Franklin, and he will have a multiverse-level son. But then I thought about it. No matter who marries the Invisible Woman, the child will be Franklin. So is Franklin still his son? Are you still related to him by blood? Besides, marrying an unknown woman for this reason does not conform to his view of love. If he came to the Marvel world without any golden fingers, there is nothing wrong with doing this to save his life. But now he has a protagonist template and his strength is always improving. If he develops well, he might be able to transform into a Super 4 in 10 or 20 years. With various other bloodline assistants, his strength will not be worse than Yuan. And Franklin doesn't seem to care who his father is or whether his father lives or lives. He only cares about his mother. How about introducing me to Pietro? Anyway, he likes people older than him. At this time, Hawking suddenly thought of his younger brother Quicksilver, who could be his younger brother and sister, so Franklin could be considered his nephew. But when I think about it, Quicksilver is only 14, and the invisible girl looks like she's in her mid-20s. The age difference is actually a bit too big. The Phantom Cat can also be said to be a female senior holding gold bricks. The invisible girl is 10 years older. I think Quicksilver can accept it, but Alina and Oleg can't accept it either. Forget it. Let nature take its course. After thinking for a moment, Hawking quickly cleared away these distracting thoughts. Those who engage in these external evil ways are better off working hard to improve their own strength. Only when you are strong are you truly strong, and everything else is fake. After a few old classmates met and chatted, in order to ease the embarrassment, Reed quickly got to the point. Victor, if you are willing to support my plan, I will give you a reasonable commission on all the final proceeds. However, after hearing Reed's words, Victor first showed a hint of sarcasm, and then showed a confident expression on his face. 75% of the proceeds belong to me, and I also want all the patent rights. The remaining 25% is yours. Believe me, no one in the world will take as big a risk as I do to invest in this project for you, and the 25% is enough for you to pay off the fourth mortgage of the Baxter building. It is estimated that there is still a lot of money left for you to revitalize your bankrupt company. He expected Reed to come to him only after he had nowhere to go, so he was sure Reed would come to him. Over there, Ben glared at Victor angrily. Victor, your conditions are too excessive. It's quite excessive. I only want 70% of the revenue and all the patent rights. At this time, Hawking, who had been silent until now, spoke. Who are you? What qualifications do you have to compete with me? Upon hearing Hawking's words, Victor's expression immediately changed and he turned to look at Hawking. This time Hawking officially introduced. Hawking, the chairman of League of Legends International, also values Mr. Reed's project very much. It's just that Mr. Reed said he would make an appointment with you first, so I followed him. You, chairman of League of Legends International Corporation? Similarly, looking at Hawking's young and shameless face, Victor's face was full of disbelief. Reed, I really didn't expect you to be so naughty. You deliberately found someone to help you. You want to negotiate terms with me. I'll tell you. But before he finished speaking, he was stunned in place, because Hawking had already put on the golden armor and was floating in the air. However, he reacted very quickly. His expression changed rapidly. He looked at Reed with a smile and said, Reed, for the sake of my classmates, give me the patent rights 60%. 50%, give me the patent rights. Hawking returned to his original state with a faint smile on his face. 40%, give me the patent rights. Victor's face turned ugly. 50% patent rights are shared. Hawking's face remained calm. When he heard that Hawking had actually divided the patent rights, Victor's expression changed drastically. If this continues, the patent rights may be gone soon. Mr. Hawking, I think we can talk alone. There is no need to continue this disgusting competition. Chapter 71 Head-Eating Monster. Mr. Hawking, let me tell you the truth. I am bound to win this project. Instead of us continuing to compete viciously like this and letting Reed benefit, why not make a condition and I can compensate you? This way you can gain something without taking any risks. In another office, Victor looked at Hawking with a smile on his face and said, if other people dared to compete viciously with him, he would have plenty of means to deal with them. It would be impossible for them to use bright business tactics to get to this point. However, the person in front of me is a person who specializes in fighting crime, and there are two equally powerful younger brothers. It was on the news today that they stopped the terrorists from hijacking the plane. His methods are probably not enough to fill the gap between people's teeth. So I can only give up more interests to settle it. Hawking looked Victor up and down, then smiled. Now that Mr. Victor has said so, if I, Hawking, refuse, it would be too disrespectful. So be it, then okay, I promise you. After hearing Hawking's conditions, Victor thought for a moment and then agreed. In his opinion, Hawking's conditions are not harsh. He just requires Victor's technology company to cooperate with the current League of Legends International company to conduct some business cooperation. However, most of the basic profits from these cooperations belong to League of Legends International company, and his company is basically working in vain. But when you think about it compared with the profit from Reed's project, it's just a drop in the bucket and not worth mentioning. One more thing. I need Reed to help me complete my research on the gravity chamber in the future. It's too dangerous for him to go up to the space station. Then he can stay at your company's base for remote command. My space station is very safe. How could it be okay? Of course there is no problem. Victor originally wanted to retort, but when he saw Hawking's glare, he immediately softened. In order to win this project, these are not problems. Remote command is remote command. Anyway, the main purpose is to collect data on the evolution of life caused by solar storms. The focus is on the research after obtaining the data. Therefore, whether Reed goes to the space station or not does not have much impact. Then sign the contract. Half an hour later, the two returned to their previous office. My old classmate, Mr. Hawking, has withdrawn from this competition. According to the conditions he just offered, 50% of the patent rights will be shared jointly. You don't have to pay a penny. I pay both the money and the space station. In the end, everything is divided equally. Now you can make a lot of money. Victor laughed and extended his right hand to Reed. Ben over there couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. What do you mean without paying a penny? The most important technology comes from Reed. Reed spent all the money and 3 or 4 years on this project. He is the one who is responsible for it. The worst. It's really a good deal to get a bargain. But when he was about to speak, Reed crippled him with his arm. Ben, I'm not doing this project to make money. I'm doing it to help the entire human race. That's it. After persuading Ben in a low voice, Reed held Victor's hand. Make a deal. If Hawking hadn't appeared to suppress the situation to this point, he would have agreed to even the condition proposed by Victor at the beginning. It's pretty good now. At least the patent rights for the projects I'm researching haven't been completely taken away. Although there was a little accident, the result was good, wasn't it? Letting go of his hand, Victor proudly hugged the waist of the invisible woman next to him. Although Reed thinks differently from normal people and often makes his teammates miserable, to be honest, he doesn't have a bad heart. Hawking, who listened to the conversation between several people, thought to himself. After everything was settled, the invisible woman was responsible for sending the 3 Hawkings out of the building, and the 3 drove back to the Baxter building. Mr. Hawking, thank you for your help just now. As soon as the car started, Reed thanked Hawking. Hawking was a little surprised and said, "Why did Dr. Reed say that?" When I explained the project just now, Victor listened very carefully, but Mr. Hawking basically didn't listen, and your company is not involved in technology projects, so. Reed didn't finish what he said, but everyone understood the meaning. It was because he felt that Hawking was dissatisfied with Victor's style and deliberately used vicious competition to help. You saw it, but everyone got what they needed, and I gained a lot. I can't completely help you. As long as you, Doctor, are willing to help me research a gravity device that can assist my training after the project is over. Hawking smiled. Naturally, things were not what Reed thought. He simply couldn't understand the technical terms Reed said. In addition, he knew that the iron nail experiment failed, so naturally he would not pay much attention to the content of the project. But since Reed misunderstood, of course he would not expose it. Don't worry, Mr. Hawking. According to my calculations, the solar storm will appear in space in 6 weeks. In 2 months, I will be able to find time to help you research the gravity device. Reed roughly calculated the time and promised. Thank you very much, Doctor. Hawking nodded with satisfaction. 2 months is just 2 months. With Reed's brain, which can invent space transmission devices, he will definitely be able to make great strides in gravity chamber technology. It's worth waiting a little longer. Returning to Baxter Tower and saying goodbye to Reed and Ben, Hawking checked the time and rode his motorcycle to the mutant school. Nowadays, he still lives in the mutant school and still spends a lot of time studying magic every day and asking Wanda to help him practice. Now he also calls Pietro. As he grows older, Pietro's speed has become faster and faster, which can also have some effect on his training. Half a month later, midnight. As usual, Hawking took Peter and Jessica to fight criminals in New York. Recently, many people with abilities have applied to join the company. Among them are people like Jessica who gained abilities by accident. There are also superpowers who are suspected of being aliens, and there are mutants with various abilities. It's just that their abilities are basically not enough to catch Hawking's eyes, and they are simply unable to become superheroes and join the trio he has formed now. So he sent them to other positions in the company. Anyway, the salary is definitely better than their original job, and there is no danger. In fact, it is understandable. Apart from mutants, there are not many powerful ability users at this time, and some have long been noticed by S.H.I.E.L.D. Among the mutants who meet his conditions, they are either not born or have been divided up by Professor X and Magneto. However, because the company has been developing well recently, he is also considering finding a time to talk to Professor X about letting mutants from the school join the company. Join a few first. Wait until you have a reputation and a fan base, and then announce your identity. This will make it easier for the public to accept and gradually change the public's prejudice against mutants step by step. Captain, there is a big problem here. There are unknown forces carrying a large number of weapons, and they are chasing a black humanoid monster. Oh my god. That monster actually eats human heads. Peter's scream suddenly came from the earphones. Chapter 72 Venom's Weakness. Oh god, what the hell are you? Eddie watched as his arms were covered by an unknown black creature, and he was controlling the motorcycle to speed through the street without his control, followed by more than a dozen cars and dozens of drones chasing after him. From time to time, I can still feel bullets passing by my body, and shells exploding directly next to me. His heart was also extremely broken. As the head reporter of the Daily Bugle, he became famous for his coverage of the Golden God of War. Later, because of the relationship brought by his boss's boss, he was able to enter the League of Legends International Company and conduct exclusive interviews with 3 superheroes. Since then, he has been regarded as a prominent presence in the entire New York reporter circle. A few days ago, a female doctor suddenly came to him and said that the famous Biological Foundation was secretly arresting homeless people and conducting cruel human experiments, hoping that he could expose their evil deeds. For a reporter, how could he miss such big news? So he followed the female doctor with excitement and sneaked into the laboratory at the headquarters of the Biological Foundation, hoping to take some evidence and then expose it to get a big news that would shock the entire New York. Everything went smoothly at first, but just before the end, he was accidentally parasitized by an alien creature that looked like black paste in the laboratory. This also led to his infiltration operation being completely exposed, and he was frantically pursued by the Life Foundation. Even after he had fled to the streets of the city, this group of people would not let him go, and they were still so bold in pursuing him. It's over, I'm going to die. At some point, a Life Foundation car had deterred and stopped in front of him, and a bald man in the car window took out an RPG and pointed it at him with a sarcastic face boom. The entire motorcycle was directly blasted by rockets. Don't be afraid, I won't let you die. The voice of the alien creature came to Eddie's mind again, and then his entire body was wrapped and turned into a humanoid monster nearly 3 meters tall, covered with black muscles and sharp fangs. At this time, the alien creature took over full control of his body. The alien creature controlled Eddie and jumped 4 to 5 meters high before the motorcycle exploded. He grabbed the street lamp with both hands and swung into the alley next to him. The drones and pursuit personnel of the Life Foundation also followed closely. These cute little snacks of yours are just enough to fill my venomous belly. After entering the alley, Venom stopped running away. Instead, he turned around, stretched out his long tongue and fangs, and roared loudly. Cars stopped one after another, and people from the Life Foundation inside got out of their cars, took out their weapons, and shot at Venom wildly. But when those bullets hit Venom, they only stirred up black water splashes, and then they all fell to the ground, unable to break through the defense at all. Backdated weapons. Venom stretched out his hands, and his black arms were stretched like rubber. He grabbed the two people standing at the front one by one and pulled them in front of him like he was grabbing two little chickens. The heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and internal organs all look good, but I still like to eat the head the most. One bite at a time, the heads of the two people in his hands were instantly eaten by him. Oh, hell, this is delicious. Go to hell, monster. Seeing the Venom eating the heads of the two companions, the people from the Life Foundation immediately started to retreat in panic while outgoing wildly. At this moment, suddenly a stream of spider threads shot out from above the alley, shooting all the people and Venom from the Life Foundation below to the wall and sticking them together. It was Spider-Man Peter who took action after reporting to Hawking. Spider-Man of the League of Legends, please stop your current behavior immediately and do not make any other attacks. Peter shouted a warning as he rolled over and fell from the air. Rule 1 of the Superhero Code. After discovering a crime, do not imitate the police and report an identity warning before taking action. You must first remove the threat before the other party is paying attention, and then perform the above actions. Tear. With Venom's hands stuck to the wall, he pulled hard and tore Peter's sticky spider silk apart and fell down. Interesting, this guy's body seems to be very good, and his brain should be better than others. What the hell are you? Seeing the Venom that easily tore apart his own webs, Peter's face instantly became serious. During this time in the company, he did see a lot of strange-looking mutants who came for interviews. But this was the first time he had seen such a strange guy like Venom. He looked like a monster. I'm not a thing, I'm Venom. Venom punched Peter, and Peter quickly raised his arms forward. However, Peter, who had a strength of more than 10 tons, actually lost to the Venom in front of him in terms of pure strength. He was knocked away directly on the spot. He still relied on his strong reflexes to shoot spider silk in midair and wrap it around the wall. The unloading force bounced back. What a terrifying power! Peter, who landed on the wall of the alley, looked at Venom below in shock. Apart from Hawking, he had never seen anyone with such great power. Seeing that Peter was not injured, Venom immediately jumped up and continued to attack. But at this moment, Eddie, who was wrapped in Lima, began to resist. Don't hurt him, he's a good man. Okay, let's get out of here first. Feeling that the host's consciousness was resisting, Venom didn't force himself. He turned around and was about to eat 2 more heads to replenish his strength and leave. Roar! But just as he turned around, a huge sound suddenly came from above, which made him dizzy and exhausted, and he had to shrink back into the body of his host Eddie. Seeing the Venom disappear, Hawking, who was floating in the sky, stopped yelling downwards. It turned out that after receiving Peter's notice, he rushed over as soon as possible. Then, when he saw the Venom below, he immediately used an amplifying spell to amplify his voice and roared below. Venom, an alien symbiote life, is almost immune to most physical and energy attacks, and its strength can reach a terrifying 200 tons when developed to its limit. But it also has several very fatal weaknesses. It cannot survive alone without the host, and it is very afraid of sound and fire. In most cases, their character and thoughts will be affected by the host they possessed for the first time. So after Hawking saw the Venom, he immediately used sound magic to give him a showdown. It's just that he originally thought that Venom would come to the Earth a few years later when Peter had already started working, but he didn't expect that it would come so far in advance. Moreover, he didn't find Peter at the beginning, but directly found Eddie. It seems that many things in this universe are not exactly the same as the plots he knows. It can only be said that they are generally similar. You and Jessica hand these guys over to the police. I'll take Eddie back to the company to find out what's going on. After explaining to Peter, Hawking went down, picked up Eddie, and quickly flew to his company. Whenever Venom tried to emerge on the road, Hawking would roar it back. Chapter 73 Opportunities to Unlock New Templates. The underground training room of League of Legends International Corporation. Hawking took off his armor and put Eddie, who was half frightened to death, on a chair. "Eddie, tell me, what's going on?" "This is what happened, old boss." Eddie, who had just recovered a little, was about to tell the whole story to his most admired and grateful idol, when he suddenly saw Hawking's original face after removing the armor, and was stunned on the spot. He never expected that the famous superhero, God of War, Armored Man, and Golden Flash, who had helped him save Jew, was actually his boss's boss, Hawking, who had been controlling the news content of the Daily Bugle. "Don't be surprised, it's me. Let's talk about it," Hawking reminded aloud. If Eddie is just an ordinary newspaper reporter, then he is naturally not qualified to know his true identity. But now Eddie is parasitized by Venom, and there is a high probability that he will be recruited into his company in the future. This must be another story. "Yes, boss, a few days ago." After coming back to his senses, Eddie immediately told Hawking everything that happened at the Life Foundation. Hawking's eyes lit up after hearing this. It turned out to be that company. When he watched the Venom independent movie, he learned that a company had discovered symbiotes in outer space and brought them to Earth for research, hoping to solve various terminal diseases by combining symbiotes with humans. To this end, they secretly lured all the unnoticed homeless people on the street into the laboratory for cruel human experiments, but they all ended in failure. Because the symbiote cannot perfectly combine with any living thing. If the conditions are not met, the parasitized creature will be unable to persist within a few hours. It's just that when I watched the movie, I mainly watched the storyline, and I really didn't pay attention to the name of the company. However, what really makes him happy is not that he can get some justice by solving the inhumane company called Life Foundation, but the plot development direction of this incident is very close to that of Venom's independent movie. If true, it means that there is still a symbiote named Riot surviving on the Earth. That symbiote plans to summon countless similar symbiotes to invade the Earth. What does that mean? This means that if he can stop the Riot, although it does not mean that he has helped the Earth fight off countless symbionts, it will definitely save many lives on the Earth in the future, and a large amount of justice value will definitely be recorded. He felt that it was possible to unlock a new protagonist template with this batch of justice points, coupled with the justice points he had worked so hard to accumulate in the past. It's better to check with the main body first. After coming back to his senses, Hawking immediately smiled and ordered Eddie, "Let the alien called Venom come out of you." Maybe these are just his wishful thinking. There is no such thing as an army of symbiotes invading the Earth. For example, Venom in the third Spider-Man came to the Earth alone. The development of many things in this universe is very chaotic, and you cannot just rely on your own imagination. So it would be more appropriate to call out the Venom body and ask. The boss, he doesn't want to come out and says you always yell at him. After a moment, Eddie looked up at Hawking awkwardly. Venom had always wanted to come out along the way, but he was shaken back by Hawking's voice directly enhanced by the amplifying spell. Venom was now shaken out of his psychological shadow, but he did not dare to come out. Hawking was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and then said in a very gentle and charitable voice, "Mr. Venom, what happened just now is a special situation. Although we humans will have some scum like the one you just ate, there are also many good people, just like me. The most important thing is friendship and peace. So as long as you don't attack at will after you come out, then I promise not to yell at you." He remembered that this Venom seemed to be a relatively unsuccessful existence on his own planet. Compared to the ferocity of his kind, Venom's character was much more timid. And there seems to be some middle class, some naive and some naive ones. Of course, if it's the one from the Spider-Man series, it's purely evil. Let me tell you first, I'm not afraid of you. It's just that our symbiote is very sensitive to sound and fire. If it is too strong, it will kill us. After hearing Hawking's words, a human head made of black slime grew out of Eddie's shoulder. It seems that he is more inclined to the former. He exposed his two fatal points as soon as he opened his mouth, and it was like no one else. The smile on Hawking's face became even kinder after hearing this. I know. Mr. Venom is not a timid person at first glance. He must be a famous presence among your tribe. He has a majestic appearance and an extremely kind heart. He is loved by everyone. I just don't know what the purpose of Mr. Venom's sudden visit to our Earth is. You're absolutely right, Eddie, I like this guy. In fact, not all symbionts are as kind as me. This time we come to Earth. Hearing Hawking praise himself so much, Venom's vanity immediately exploded, and he began to introduce his race and their purpose of coming to Earth. It turns out that the symbiote family lives on a planet who knows how many light years away from the Earth. After leaving their own planet, they need to parasitize other organisms to exert their power. As for why they come to Earth, it's because they need food like Earth's humans. So it wasn't the Life Foundation's exploration spacecraft that found them, but their team of symbionts who went out to find food for the planet found the Earth, a big granary. But don't worry, I like you two very much. When my tribe comes, I will protect you two and won't let you become food. At the end of the sentence, Venom promised with pride. Eddie was shocked when he heard Venom's words. He didn't expect that such a terrifying alien creature was not just one, but a planet. If it really hit the Earth, then humanity would be doomed. Then he immediately turned to look at Hawking, only to find that there was no worry on Hawking's face. Instead, he was filled with happiness. Very good, it seems that it is indeed the setting in the Venom movie, so it will be easy to handle. In Hawking's view, even if symbionts really invade the Earth, it is actually not terrible, not to mention that the water on the Earth is very deep, and there is no telling how much power is hidden. Even humans alone can fight as long as they are prepared. The symbiote's weakness in fear of sound and fire makes it too easy to be targeted by technology. Mr. Venom, have you ever thought that if your people invaded here, the beautiful Earth would be turned into ruins, and you would actually gain nothing? But if you give up conveying the news of the Earth to your people, then you can become a superhero that humans like and be worshipped by many people like me. They'll also give you a resounding title, like Venom the Deadly Guardian. Hawking started the trick of deception in response to Venom's character. Chapter 74 The Strongest Symbiote Riot. Deadly Guardian. This name sounds, in the words of your planet, simply too cool. Half an hour later, Venom, who had been successfully brainwashed, had completely shifted his position to the Earth side. He felt that what the human in front of him said made sense. If he conveyed the Earth's message back to his own planet, the entire planet would be occupied by his people and be devoured like countless other planets. And what he can gain, he can't gain anything. He is still a loser in the tribe who is looked down upon by all the tribesmen. But if this information is not sent back, then he can stay on this planet forever, become an idol worshipped by the life forms of this planet, and can eat, drink, and have fun on this beautiful planet. Okay, I won't send news about this planet back. Then can you leave my body and parasitize other people's bodies? At this time, Eddie spoke expectantly. As a normal human being who wants to have an alien creature in his body that likes to eat human heads, he has not been scared to death until now. It is because he has developed a big heart as a reporter. No, Eddie, you are the most suitable mount for me. Other mounts will not last long. Together with me, we can do great things and become a being that everyone respects. Venom refused without thinking. It is not that easy to find a completely suitable body to parasitize. During the 6 months in the Life Foundation laboratory, he had parasitized many homeless people, and none of them could last more than 2 hours, but Eddie was completely unaffected. This shows that his compatibility with Eddie is 100%. Moreover, he read Eddie's memory and liked Eddie, a human on Earth. Oh my god. Annie will kill me if she finds out. Hearing Venom's refusal, Eddie couldn't help but cover his forehead. If his girlfriend Anne knew that he had such a thing in his body, she would probably not even let him go to bed. After all, there would be a third party watching all the time who could bear it. If you want to be more open about Eddie, from now on you and Venom will be the fourth superheroes of our League of Legends company, and they can participate in missions with us. There will be countless first-hand intelligence and big news waiting for you in the future, which is not a bad thing. Upon seeing this, Hawking stood up and patted Eddie on the shoulder. Eddie thought for a while, and his eyes lit up again. As a reporter, there was nothing more attractive to him than first-hand intelligence and big news. Moreover, the one fighting was Venom, so he could hide inside and concentrate on observing and obtaining news materials. I will work hard. That's it, Eddie, stay with me. We are the Deadly Guardians, and we can do great things together. The Venom ignited instantly. Ding! Just then, the elevator door opened and Peter and Jessica walked out. Hawking asked, "Has it been handled over there?" "It's all taken care of and handed over to the police." Peter and Jessica nodded. They were already familiar with this kind of thing under Hawking's guidance. They are official organizations recognized by the government, not unlicensed superheroes. Many things can be solved by simply communicating with the police who arrive. Okay, let me introduce to you our new future companions, Venom and Eddie, the Deadly Guardians. Next, Hawking briefly told Peter and Jessica about Venom's identity. After the two college students learned that Venom was actually an alien, they immediately gathered around Venom's head like curious babies and started asking questions. Venom was also a talkative, and he didn't mind the two of them being annoying at all. He became happier and happier as they chatted. Hawking had no choice but to step forward and interrupt the chat between a few people. Okay, you can talk slowly when you have time later. We have other things to do today. According to Venom, when the Life Foundation's exploration spacecraft crashed, not all of them were brought back to the laboratory by the Life Foundation. There was also a captain named Riot who parasitized and escaped in advance. The Rioter is extremely ferocious and very powerful. He will definitely go to the Life Foundation to find Venom and other companions, and then use the Life Foundation's rockets to pass the news back to the Earth. So let's go to the Life Foundation headquarters now. Yes, Captain. Peter and Jessica responded immediately, and Eddie nodded as well. So the four of them took the elevator to the 6th floor, and then quickly rushed to the headquarters of the Life Foundation. Hawking and Jessica are flying. Peter and Venom are running. The headquarters of the Life Foundation is located on a coastal location outside New York. It not only has a huge experimental base, but also a separate rocket launcher that can conduct outer space exploration experiments. At this time, in the chairman's office at the headquarters, the boss, Dr. Drake, after hearing the report from his subordinates, his whole face was distorted with anger. Trash, you are all trash, and those nosy superheroes will kill you all sooner or later. After investing countless funds and efforts in research for more than half a year, all the symbiotes are basically dead. Finally, there is a case of successful accidental fusion. As long as he can bring it back for research, he will definitely get results from it. But it ended up being destroyed by those annoying superheroes. How could he not be angry? Go, all of you go this time, bring the most powerful weapons, and be sure to bring the experimental subjects back to me. After thinking about it for a while, he was still unwilling to give in, so he planned to send out all his armed forces to fight against the superheroes and take back the reporter and the experimental subject by force. But just as he finished speaking, bursts of gunshots and screams suddenly rang out outside. Boom. The office door was kicked open, and a 6 or 7-year-old girl appeared in front of him and the guards. After a moment, all the guards in the command room lost their heads. The little girl grabbed Dr. Drake's neck, and the venom-like liquid on her body quickly integrated into Dr. Drake's body. This planet belongs to us. This little girl was the one who escaped from the riot when the exploration spacecraft crashed into Malaysia half a year ago. In the past 6 months, through constant killing and parasitism, he came to New York from Malaysia and found the headquarters of the Life Foundation. He wants to parasitize Dr. Drake, use his company's rocket to return to space and send the coordinates of the planet back. However, he had just finished parasitizing, and before he could turn around, the glass in the office suddenly shattered and 4 figures fell in front of him at the same time. Venom. Seeing the venom among the 4 people, Riot immediately ordered, "Go to the rocket. I will control the launch of the rocket in a moment. After you take the rocket out of this planet, immediately send the coordinates back. Be careful, he is a rioter. We are the strongest being here, carrying all the most dangerous weapons. To prevent millions of my tribesmen from coming over, we must get rid of him first." After hearing the riot order, Venom couldn't help but take a step back in fear, and then explained to Hawking on the side. Chapter 75. The Terrible Hawking. So powerful, what are your chances of winning against him? Peter on the side was a little curious. He had briefly fought against Venom and experienced the terrifying power of Venom. This riot was even stronger than Venom. How powerful it was. Venom shook his head, round it up. It's equal to nothing. Venom, how dare you betray me? As soon as Riot raised his right hand immediately turned into a sharp knife 5 to 6 meters long and struck towards Venom with one strike. Venom was so frightened that he quickly ducked away. Although the symbiote cannot be killed by normal physical means, it will still feel pain when attacked, and if the injury is too serious, it will take time to repair. It's really strong. When Hawking saw this, he flashed and came to Riot. He punched Riot in the chest with all his strength. The knife just before the riot actually cut the entire office floor in half like cutting tofu, and the lethality was quite terrifying. Whether it was Peter or Jessica, if they were hit by this knife, they would probably die. So to be on the safe side, it would be safest for him to take action. It just so happens that Venom can understand that even without taking advantage of the weaknesses of sound and fire, he can defeat the riot that makes Venom fear so much, so that Venom will be more honest and obedient in the team in the future. At the same time, I just wanted to try out Riot, as I usually don't have such a good human shield. Boom. The riot was beaten until the 4 walls were smashed, and then it barely stopped. In his eyes, the humans on this planet are all food without any resistance. Just now, he focused all his attention on Venom and didn't care about Hawking's existence at all. So Hawking punched him without any preparation or defense. Roar! Riot stood up, let out an angry roar, and then turned his hands into double knives and rushed towards Hawking. Being knocked down by food is simply a shame and humiliation. Stay around and don't let him escape. I'll play with him. He took out an adamantium alloy stick the size of a toothpick, chanted a spell to remove the shrinking spell on it, and blew a ritualistic breath into his palm, and it immediately returned to normal size. Holding an adamantium alloy rod in hand, Hawking moved forward to meet him. Without the blessing of any protagonist template, even relying on his own strength, Hawking fought violently with the symbiote first warrior with a piece of adamantium. As the first warrior of the symbiote family, the power of violence exceeds that of Venom. His whole body can also simulate various deadly cold weapons. He has extremely rich combat experience and his moves are deadly. However, at this time, after half a year of training, under the pressure of Wanda's chaos magic, Hawking's combat power also increased from 145 to 180, reaching the level when Goku and Tianjin fought in Dragon Ball. The adamantium alloy rod in his hand is also an indestructible weapon, and even the weapons produced by Riot mimics cannot be cut off. It's just that his body is not nearly immortal like Riot, so he is not so unscrupulous when fighting. But he also has his advantages. Take my stick. Waving the adamantium alloy rod to deflect Riot's attack, Hawking pretended to retreat and lure Riot to pursue him. Then, With surprising difficulty, he turned around, inserting the adamantium alloy rod straight into Riot's chest. It's useless. This kind of injury can't do anything to me. Watching his chest being penetrated, he didn't panic at all. For him, this kind of injury can be healed immediately after the stick is pulled out. Not always. A sneer appeared on Hawking's face, and he chanted a curse, shattered to pieces. The adamantium alloy rod inserted into Riot's body immediately lit up with blue magic light. Then, a huge explosion exploded in Riot's body, and his entire body was immediately blown up 10 times, half revealing the host Doctor Drake wrapped inside. And Dr. Drake had been blown away with only his head left, and he let out a heart-rending scream. Although he will be repaired by the riots after a while, the pain in his body from being bombed is not much at all. Unplug his host now, and then I can eat him and make him die completely. Seeing the current state of the riot, Venom, who was watching the battle, immediately stepped forward to help resolve the riot. As long as the host is removed, it will lose all combat effectiveness before it has time to parasitize the new host's riots. Once it is swallowed by other symbionts, it will be completely killed. However, he was stopped by Hawking as soon as he started. Don't worry, it's rare to have such a sparring partner. Let's play for a while. Okay. Looking at the indifferent Hawking, Venom couldn't help but swallowed his saliva. Why did he feel that Hawking, a human being, was more terrifying than the riots? Over there, Peter and Jessica were relatively calm. As long-term royal sparring partners, they know Hawking quite well. I am going to kill you. Riot, who had repaired his body at this time, roared and thrust his hands into the ground. Suddenly, countless mimic blades spread rapidly from the ground to Hawking. Kyun slash. Hawking condensed a circular cyclone in his hand and shot it at Riot, who immediately formed a shield on Riot's chest to block him. However, the strong mimic shield encountered the cyclone like tofu meeting a knife. There was no obstruction at all, and it was directly split into 2 by the cyclone and passed through. At the same time, the body of Riot was also split into 2. How can it be? Riot couldn't believe that his body was cut in half so easily by the inconspicuous cyclone. Fortunately, his vitality was tenacious, and his upper and lower body stretched out tentacles at the same time, and then quickly glued the body that was cut in half back together. It seems that purely cutting moves will not do as much damage as explosive moves against such an enemy with strong recovery ability. The recovery speed after the Kai Yuan was cut off during the riot was obviously much faster than that after the explosion curse had just hit the body. Then try the effects of powerful moves again. Hawking assumed his driving position and began to gather a large amount of Kai in his body. Turtle tilde pi tilde Kai tilde gong tilde wave. Dazzling energy pillars erupted from Hawking's hands, directly hitting Riot, who had just repaired his body. The powerful Qigong wave smashed through the walls and flew straight out of the building despite the riot. It's not over yet. As soon as his figure flashed, Hawking caught up with Riot, who was knocked away, came to the sky above him, and output the second output to Riot with both hands. Air bomb combo. Boom 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 boom. Dozens of air bombs flew out from Hawking's hand, accurately hitting Riot, whose body was penetrated by turtle-style Qigong. The power of each air bomb was comparable to the explosion of a powerful grenade. By the time Riot fell to the square on the ground, it had become a pile of mud. It's actually still alive. This symbiote is really tenacious. Falling next to the Riot, Hawking found that Dr. Drake, the parasite of the Riot, had been completely dead under his series of attacks just now. But the main body of the Riot is still alive, but it has also been severely damaged. It is squirming hard, trying to escape from here and find a new host to parasitize and recover. Hawking, so scary. At this time, Peter, Venom, and Jessica, who jumped down from the stairs, looked at the Riot on the ground that was beaten like mud and couldn't help but let out the same sigh in their hearts. What they don't know is that this is actually just Hawking's normal combat effectiveness. Chapter 76 Naruto Template Extraction. The flames are blazing. Looking at the riders squirming on the ground trying to escape, Hawking stretched out his hand. A burst of flames shot out, igniting the squirming riot. The power of the ordinary fire spell is still a bit low. It can only kill the symbiote in the severely injured state. If you can use the severe fire spell, it is estimated that even the symbiote with full strength in the parasitic state can be killed. Looking at the riot that screamed and dissipated in the flames, Hawking secretly regretted in his heart. It's a pity that his golden finger can only draw the protagonist. Otherwise, if he draws the templates of Voldemort, Grindelwald and Dumbledore, then he will be called a real wizard. Harry Potter in Year 4 is good, but it falls far short. Hey, Voldemort! At this moment Hawking's heart suddenly moved, and he suddenly remembered something. It seems that there is a piece of Voldemort's split soul hidden in Harry Potter's body, and it is also the soul of Voldemort at the peak of his power. Is it possible, when loading the Harry Potter template, to find a way to obtain all of Voldemort's memories through Voldemort's split soul, thereby gaining a large amount of magical knowledge? It seems that I will have more time to study this aspect in the future. Temporarily suppressing the sudden thought, he turned around and patted Venom on the shoulder with a deliberate smile. Work hard from now on, and your future will be very bright, and you will never end up like him. Yes, yes, yes. Looking at the smiling Hawking in front of him, Venom couldn't help but tremble. That was a riot. Beating him was like beating a child. The riot was so easily wiped out by the human in front of him. It seems that this planet is not as simple as he first imagined. Okay, you guys handle the scene and notify the police to come over. I want to make a call. After giving Peter and Jessica a few words and asking them to take Venom to learn how to deal with the scene and some subsequent operations, Hawking called the Green Goblin. I'll give you a gift. Drake from the Life Foundation is dead. If you are interested, you can take it before others react. As a top technology and biological company, the Life Foundation has many scientists in it. If the Green Goblin can win, those scientists can help him research and develop the gravity chamber. There are 10 cobblers on top of one huge liang. Although they are not famous scientists, they can still have some effect. It should not be a big problem to help the Green Goblin and Mr. Fantastic. Of course I'm interested, Hawking. Cooperating with you is really the best decision of my life. Hearing the Green Goblin's laughter on the other end of the phone, Hawking replied, put more thought into the gravity chamber. After calling the Green Goblin, he opened his panel. Sure enough, the progress bar is full. Seeing the prompt on the panel that a new protagonist template could be extracted, Hawking's lips gradually raised. He was not in such a hurry to start drawing. Unlike before, he had to rely on the protagonist's template to save his life. He could go home, take a bath and burn incense and then pay homage to the gods before going to draw. He never believed in these things in his previous life, but now he feels that there are some things that he would rather believe than believe that they don't exist. Ukai is sometimes very mysterious. Captain, it's all taken care of. An hour later, Peter reported to Hawking. Hawking nodded. It's very late today. That's it. Let's go back and rest first. Venom, remember, you can't kill people without my permission. Don't reveal your identity at will, and listen to Eddie more. Understood. I will definitely listen to Eddie. A face of venom condensed from Eddie's shoulders, and he nodded very obediently. Seeing that things were almost done, Hawking used the air dance technique to fly up and return to the mutant school. After Hawking left, Jessica, Peter and Venom returned to Manhattan together, and all 3 of them lived in Manhattan. Peter and Jessica go to school in Manhattan, but not in the same school. Venom wants to go home with Eddie, who lives near the Daily Bugle building. The next day, after taking a shower, Hawking recited all the gods he knew, and then pressed the extraction button on the panel. There must be a useful protagonist. The extraction begins. The extraction is over. The protagonist template extracted this time is Naruto World, 16-year-old Uzumaki Naruto. Do you want to load it? After the extraction was over, Hawking was stunned for a moment when he looked at the extraction results. 16-year-old Uzumaki Naruto has already returned from training with Jiraiya, so he's not that bad. In fact, he didn't expect to pick a protagonist who could destroy the world. With the Saiyan bloodline developed, it shouldn't be too easy to destroy the planet in the future. Therefore, most of his time in the future will definitely be spent on developing the potential of the Saiyan bloodline. It's just that Saiyans also have weaknesses, especially in the early stage. They have low poison resistance and low mental resistance. They cannot survive in the universe and cannot live without food. Once they run out of food and water, they will die. He hopes that the emergence of other bloodlines can make up for these shortcomings of Saiyans, and at the same time enrich his abilities, better help him survive the early stage, and speed up the improvement of combat effectiveness. Just like Harry Potter's wizard bloodline, it strengthened his mental strength, allowed him to solve the rational problem of turning into a gorilla, and paved the way for his future transformation into Super-4. The conditions for transforming into a Super-4, in addition to meeting the standard in combat effectiveness, the most important thing is that you must be able to maintain your sanity after transforming into a golden gorilla, so that you can transform into a Super-4. At the same time, Harry Potter's magic also gave him a lot of help. As for the 16-year-old Naruto, in terms of fighting ability, he is definitely not as good as Sun Wukong. The Rasengan is quite powerful, but its destructive power is far less than that of turtle-style Kigong. But he can also be of great help. As far as he can imagine now, the most signature technique of multiple shadow clones is very useful in this world. Thousands of physical clones are instantly created. Each clone can perform ninjutsu and transfer memories back to the main body after disappearing. Whether it is rescuing people, fighting, escaping, or delivering messages, it is very useful. There is also the basic transformation technique in the three-body art, which gives him a transformation ability that is not inferior to that of the famous Mystique. And if he remembered correctly, in terms of settings, human cells in the Naruto world were twice as large as normal human cells, and their physiques were inherently stronger than those of humans in the normal world. Naruto is the reincarnation of Asura, and his special whirlpool constitution and bloodline are superimposed on the Saiyan bloodline. These will definitely take his physical talents to the next level. Maybe the original combat effectiveness was increased by 10 points a month, but after the bloodline was superimposed, the same training could increase the combat effectiveness by 12 points in a month. Chapter 77 Gamabunta appears. You know, Goku's Saiyan bloodline is not advanced. It is not as good as Broly or Vegeta. It is the lowest Saiyan bloodline. The reason why Wukong is so powerful is because he has no distracting thoughts and is pure in martial arts. But he, Hawking, is not that pure. He only increases his combat power to protect himself, and his thoughts are very complicated. If he wants to reach the level of Wukong, he must buy more other things to supplement. To put it another way, the refinement of ninja chakra is a combination of physical strength and mental strength. Any outstanding one can be called a genius. Then after possessing Naruto's whirlpool bloodline, coupled with the terrifying physical talent of a Saiyan and the spiritual talent of a wizard, wouldn't he instantly become a super ninja genius? When the time comes to transform into a gorilla, can a Rasengan be comparable to the tailed beast Jade? Also, after transforming into a gorilla, what kind of effect will it have if you form a seal and use the technique of multiple shadow clones? Finally, after loading the Naruto template, will the 9 tails in Naruto's body also be there? If Kyuubi is here, the tailed beast transformation, the demon fox coat, the super healing effect of Kyuubi chakra and other buffs are superimposed, it seems good. Is Saiyan wearing a demon fox costume, or a gorilla wearing a demon fox costume? Anyway, the more he thought about it, the more he felt that this Naruto template was not as bad as he initially thought, and could be used to develop many good moves. It's better to find a place to load it first, and then slowly verify these ideas. Only after loading the protagonist template once can the body retain the bloodline and memory of the protagonist template. What I am thinking about now are just guesses. Temporarily turning off the panel and putting on his clothes, he just opened the window when a cold wind blew in. Hey, it's actually snowing. It's going to be Christmas in a while. Looking at the snowflakes flying outside, Hawking was stunned for a moment and didn't pay too much attention. This bit of snow was not a big deal to him. He used the dance technique to fly out of the window and found an uninhabited forest as far away from the school as possible. He opened the panel again and clicked the button to load 16-year-old Uzumaki Naruto. In an instant, his short black hair turned into yellow hair, a forehead protector with the Konoha symbol appeared on his forehead, and his clothes turned into orange and black sportswear. There were also marks on his cheeks that looked like fox whiskers. At the same time, Naruto's 16 years of memories began to flash rapidly in his mind. These include what Hawking cares about most, the basic knowledge about ninjutsu learned in the ninja school, Kakashi's guidance later, Jiraiya's guidance, etc. Until the Battle of Tenchai Bridge, when the four tails grew and Orochimaru fought, the memory stopped abruptly. It's a pity. If you can go a little further back, you can learn the immortal mode. The memory flashback ended, and Hawking couldn't help but sigh. But he quickly thought about it. It was random in the first place, how could it be so good? Otherwise, if the one drawn for the first time is not the 13-year-old Goku, but the dozens-year-old Super Sailor Goku, it will not be a lie. As for the protagonist template, he just wants to draw the one he can draw. Don't worry too much if he doesn't draw. The main thing is to improve his own physical strength. Loading the protagonist template is the icing on the cake, and normalcy is his true fighting power. Just like fighting the riot last night, it was still possible without loading the protagonist template. That time was the real power he pursued. Test your strength. After a brief warm-up, Hawking began to punch and kick in various ways, testing the changes in his body after adding Naruto's blood. He soon discovered that his strength and speed had indeed increased a lot compared to last night. Shadow clone technique. He formed a seal with his hands, and a shadow clone that looked exactly like himself appeared next to him instantly. Rasengan. With the cooperation of the shadow clone, a blue spiral pill quickly appeared in Hawking's right hand. I'll rub it, it's so big. After the Rasengan was completely formed, Hawking took a closer look and found that the Rasengan was as big as a basketball. The key point is that he didn't use some immortal method, Dei Rasengan, but ordinary Rasengan. It can be seen that his previous speculation has indeed come true. Saiyan blood and wizard blood have strengthened chakra and ninjutsu, allowing him to use ninjutsu that is much stronger than normal ninjutsu. And as his body and spirit strengthen, ninjutsu will continue to be strengthened. If this continues, he might be able to create a Rasengan as big as the moon in the future. After dispersing the Rasengan, he wanted to try other ninjutsu, but found that Naruto didn't seem to know many ninjutsu except for the Rasengan. That is, the basic techniques of substitution and transformation, as well as the techniques of seduction and harem that he developed himself. By the way, there is also the art of channeling, but can the art of channeling be used? The psychic technique is a time and space ninjutsu that can be summoned only after the caster signs a blood contract with the psychic beast. Naruto signed a contract with Miyamu Mountain, one of the 3 immortal lands, and he could channel the toads there to fight. But he is in Marvel now, and logically speaking, even if he uses psychic skills, there will probably be no reaction. But considering the previous situations with the Golden Cudgel, some assault cloud, flying broomstick and invisibility cloak, he felt that it might not be completely impossible. Maybe he was just being unreasonable when loading the Naruto template. You'll know after you try it. Reaching out and biting his thumb, Hawking quickly made a seal and pressed it on the ground. Ninjutsu, psychic technique. Black psychic marks instantly spread on the ground, and then, with a bang, a big super red toad with a pipe in its mouth appeared at Hawking's feet. The toad was as big as 10 stories high. Damn it, I'm really psychic. Looking at the huge toad at his feet, Hawking was stunned on the spot. After all, he was still very surprised to be able to channel the spirit. He could only sigh at the power of the protagonist's template. And according to Naruto's memory, the psychic was not Gamakichi who grew up with Naruto, but Gamabunta, Gamakichi's father. Little devil, why did you summon me suddenly? The big toad was smoking a big pipe, and he was also puzzled. Now, when Naruto uses psychic skills, he usually summons his sons. Why did he suddenly summon himself today? Could it be that he encountered some difficult enemy? But looking around, there was no enemy in the forest. First time we meet, hello, Mr. Toad. Hawking flew up from Gamabunta's head and came in front of him so that he could see himself. The moment Gamabunta saw Hawking, his 2 toad eyes blinked. Who are you, brat? The kid floating in the air in front of him had the same chakra as Naruto, the same clothes and hair as Naruto, but he didn't have the same face as Naruto. Could it be that Naruto used a transformation technique? Chapter 78 Remarks on the Launch. It's on the shelves again. This is already the 6th book. To be honest, the data of this book is better than the previous 5 books. It has already received 20,000 before the 3rd round is over. Unfortunately, it has stopped at the 3rd round of recommendations. I can only say that the books in the same period are too strong. But don't worry, I have always had a good mentality. In the first 2 years when I wrote the book, even if I paid more than 1,000 yuan a month for the manuscript fee, I never cut the book. I worked hard to finish the book, so naturally it is impossible to cut this one. I will work hard to write a newer and more meaningful plot according to the outline. I am also here to ask all readers for a first order, because the first order is somewhat related to the recommendation after it is put on the shelves, please. As for the updates after they are put on the shelves, we will not do things like adding more based on subscriptions and rewards. 5 updates will be put on the shelves tomorrow, and we will maintain 3 updates every day. We will try our best to have 4 and 5 updates every day. Finally, I would like to thank my editor YY for your guidance and all readers for your support, so that I can support myself with my hobbies. I can't repay you, and I can't pledge myself to you. I can only update it and write a good article to repay everyone. Japanese letter O, Japanese letter, Japanese letter O, Japanese letter. Chapter 79 Real or Fake Naruto. First order required. Hey, my name is Hyojin, and I am also the person who signed a contract with your Miyamu Mountain. Hawking floated opposite Gamabunta and greeted Gamabunta with a sunny face. There is no way not to be sunny. Now that he is the template of Naruto, Naruto's sunny character will also affect him, and his tone of voice and movements will naturally be affected to some extent. Hawking? Kid, are you trying to trick me with your transformation skills? Gamabunta blew out a big smoke ring towards Hawking, his eyes full of suspicion. Except for his different face, this kid really looked like Naruto in other aspects, making it hard for him to believe that the other person was not Naruto. Mainly, Mayao Mushin did not sign a psychic contract with a man named Hawking. Boss Toad, I am really not Naruto, or not entirely. Hawking spread his hands. Regarding his identity, he did not intend to hide Gamabunta, because sooner or later he would be betrayed. The world is different, and these toads are not fools. In the future, if he wants to channel toads to fight, he will find out sooner or later. If there is a misunderstanding during the battle, it is better to resolve it in advance. And after he really channeled the toad, he had some new doubts in his mind. That is, since he can channel Gamabunta, does that mean MT? Mayaboku existed during the hour he loaded it. If it exists, does it mean that he can also learn Naruto's reverse channeling and go to Miyamu Mountain to learn the Sage Mode? Also, if MT Mayaboku exists, where does it exist? Is it in the world of Marvel or the world of Naruto? If he is in the world of Naruto, can he transfer through MT Maiboku during the loading period and briefly enter the world of Naruto? And whether the 9 tails in his body was copied or transferred directly from Naruto. Within the hour he loaded it, the 9 tails in Naruto's body was still there. Is it possible for him to meet Naruto at MT Maiboku? Is it possible to obtain more ninjutsu? What will be the difference between the 2 times, etc.? Many, many questions, many, many doubts. It was precisely because of this that he decided to communicate with Gamabunta as candidly as possible to prevent misunderstandings and subsequent cooperation being impossible. Kid, what do you mean? What do you mean by not quite Naruto? Gamabunta was confused by Hawking's words. Hawking floated cross-legged in the air and explained, "This is a long story, but in short, this is not in the ninja world, but in another world. And I accidentally obtained some special ability, which allowed me to obtain abilities similar to Naruto's and his memories within an hour. That's why I said I'm not exactly Naruto. Do you understand? Kid, what are you talking about?" After listening to Hawking's narration, Gamabunta also looked confused. He really couldn't understand what the other person was talking about. It seems that Gamabunta isn't too smart, either. It's not easy for normal people to understand this kind of thing. Hawking thought for a moment and said, "In this case, you first go back to Miyamu Mountain to check to see if my name is on the psychic contract, and then discuss today's events with the other Toad Immortals. I will summon you again at the same time tomorrow." Gamabunta is too big. Even though the place he chose is far away from the city, people will inevitably find him out over time, and big news will come out. And in this way, some of his conjectures can be verified. If Gamabunta is summoned again at this time tomorrow, a day has passed on his side, which means that the time is synchronized. If only a few dozen minutes have passed, it may be that the time is synchronized during loading and not synchronized at other times. It can also be verified whether Mount Maiboku is connected to the ninja world, or whether it just appeared independently. Kid, how can I believe that you are not Naruto? Gamabunta is still a little doubtful whether Naruto is playing tricks on him. Hawking laughed and said, "It's very simple. First of all, Naruto shouldn't be able to fly in the air like me. Secondly, you can try to take a punch from me. Once you take it, you will know that I am definitely not Naruto. Naruto does not know the flying ninjutsu. Okay, I will give you a punch and see what the difference is." Gamabunta nodded. "This punch is a bit heavy, take it carefully." Seeing that Gamabunta agreed, Hawking punched him directly. "Don't underestimate me. With your little strength, it's not enough." Gamabunta raised his toad hand. In the middle of his words, his 2 toad eyes popped out, and his whole body flew out. He quickly turned over in the air before landing again. "How is it possible, with your power?" It felt that the power of the punch just now was stronger than the power exploded by Tsunade. "That's why I said I'm not Naruto, Boss Toad. Please go back to Miyamu Mountain. By the way, you'd better ask Naruto if he still has the Kyuubi in his body at this time." Hawking smiled and waved his hand. Gamabunta took out the big pipe from his mouth and knocked it on the ground. "This is really weird today." "Okay, I'll take your word for it." At this moment, Gamabunta was almost convinced that the kid in front of him was not Naruto. Although they are very similar, if you feel them carefully, there are still many differences. Naruto cannot have such a powerful power boom. After a burst of smoke, Gamabunta disappeared. "It's time to look at Kyuubi." Gamabunta disappeared, and after checking the loading time of the panel, there were still 20 minutes left. Hawking sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. As soon as the scene turned, a long corridor appeared in front of him, and he knew that he had come to the mental space that blocked Kyuubi. Walking along the corridor, he soon saw a huge cage, and what was imprisoned in the cage was the 9-tailed beast, the strongest tailed beast with unlimited chakra. Jiue, who was sleeping with his eyes closed, seemed to sense Hawking's arrival. He suddenly opened his eyes, which were several times larger than Hawking's body, and said in a cruel tone, "You're here again, have you figured it out?" In the past 16 years, it has tried every means to transmit its chakra to Naruto through the gaps in the seal. As long as Naruto uses its power more often, the seal will become looser. In the previous battle with Orochimaru, the seal had been loosened a lot. As long as it comes a few more times, the seal will be completely loosened and it can be free again. It's a pity that in the battle with Sasuke, he originally wanted to seduce Naruto to continue borrowing his power, but was interfered by Sasuke, who had the Sharingan. Now that Sasuke has left and Naruto has to return to Konoha, it has no chance to seduce Naruto again. It can only wait patiently for the next opportunity to come, but unexpectedly Naruto comes to its door again. However, when he really saw the person clearly, he was instantly confused. "You're not Naruto, who are you?" Chapter 80 Voldemort's Split Soul appears. "Yo, hello, 9 llamas." Hawking greeted Jiue very friendly through the seal. Jiue stood up slowly in the prison and looked at Hawking carefully, his eyes filled with disbelief. How could this happen? This is impossible. After living for more than 1,000 years, this was the first time it encountered such a situation. Nothing had changed, but the Jinchuriki suddenly changed, and it was completely unaware of how it had changed. Could it be that he was under an illusion? But the only thing that can make it fall under Genjutsu is the Sharingan, and it also requires a Mangekyo. The key point is that even if Madara uses Genjutsu to control it, it's impossible for it to not notice it at all. Unlike Gamabunta, Kyuubi is locked in the spiritual space. What he sees at this time is Hawking's soul. It is very clear that it is not Naruto, and it is also certain that the Jinchuriki has changed. "This is the first time we meet. My name is Hawking. I hope we can cooperate well in the future." Hawking introduced himself in a friendly manner. Kyuubi bared his teeth and sneered, "Although I don't know what happened, if you want to borrow my power, I will be happy to give it to you. If you are willing to tear off the seal on the prison, I can lend you all my power so that you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter if the Jinchuriki has changed. What matters is breaking away from the seal and regaining freedom. Of course there is no problem in tearing the seal, but not now. There will be opportunities in the future." After hearing what Jiue said, Hawking did not refuse directly. Even if he completely opens the seal and completely transforms into a tailed beast, it won't be a big problem, because as soon as the loading time passes, everything will disappear and return to its original state, and when he loads it next time, it will be back to the original state. Like he had experimented with, throwing away or breaking the wand while loading Harry's template. Once the loading time has passed, the thrown and broken wands will disappear. When Harry's template is loaded again the next day, it will appear intact in his hand. So he felt that even if he opened the seal and completely transformed into a tailed beast, the next time he loaded it, the seal would still be intact and the Kyuubi would still be locked in the seal. And he is not Naruto. He has multiple bloodlines and is completely transformed into a tailed beast. He may not be able to suppress the 9 tails like Naruto. If it is really synchronized with the time of the Naruto world, then wait a year or 2, and when Naruto and Kyuubi are reconciled, maybe he can also enjoy the Kyuubi mode without having to worry so much. "Oh, you are a little different from other Jinchuriki." Kyuubi looked at Hawking, who looked sincere and didn't look like he was lying, and his tone was full of surprise. All the Churiki were afraid of his power and tried every means to seal it and seize its power. But this new Jinchuriki that suddenly appeared did not seem to be afraid of it at all. If you still want to completely release its power, don't you know that you can completely unlock the seal to release its power, and when it is over, it can be separated from the Jinchuriki. There is only one fate for the Jinchuriki who escapes from the tailed beast, and that is death. The time is coming, that's all for today. It felt like the loading time was about to end, and Hawking immediately exited the mental space. After a while, Naruto's template ended. The art of multiple shadow clones. Hawking learned Naruto's seal method in his memory and used the shadow clone again. In an instant, 3,000 shadow clones appeared near him at the same time, and they were all filled with him in the dense woods. The multiple shadow clone technique, the advanced ninjutsu of shadow clones, can separate a large number of physical shadow clones at one time. However, because shadow clones divide the chakra in the body equally, the more shadow clones are divided, the worse the average strength will be. Because of the superposition of bloodlines, even if he does not have the 9 tails in his body, he can create 3,000 shadow clones at once just by relying on the 3 bloodlines of Uzumaki, Saiyan, and Wizard to mutually enhance each other. This is a training cheating device. After the shadow clone disappears, the memory will be transferred back to the main body, so it is perfect for studying and practicing. But the fatigue from cultivation will also be transmitted back to the body. Ordinary ninjas cannot create so many shadow clones, cannot maintain shadow clones for such a long time, and cannot endure the collective fatigue of so many clones. They basically will not use shadow clones to practice like Naruto. Although he is not as nervous as Naruto, he is determined and can endure the fatigue caused by hundreds of shadow clones at the same time. But if we have a few shadow clones and a dozen or 20 dozen people to assist in learning magic, ninjutsu, and developing new moves, it shouldn't be a big problem. After deactivating the shadow clone and loading the Harry Potter template, Hawking sat cross-legged on the ground again and closed his eyes. He wanted to use the method that Naruto had just used to enter the spiritual space, and then enter the spiritual space again to see if he could see Voldemort's soul during the blessing of the Harry Potter template. The scene turned, and a retro train station appeared in front of him. This should be Harry's mental space. He turned around and looked around, and soon he saw the only public bench in the center of the station. He walked to the bench and squatted down. A strange and ugly little man with bloody color was lying under the bench. It was the soul of Voldemort who wanted to kill Harry as an infant but was backlashed and finally was forcibly stripped away. It's good to have it, it's good to have it. Seeing that there was indeed a split soul of Voldemort in the mental space, Hawking also had a smile on his face. It is true that he still has no way to read the memory in this split soul, but as long as the split soul is there, he will always have opportunities and methods in the future. And if he could read Voldemort's memory, he could basically learn most of the magic in the wizarding world. Next, let's wait until tomorrow. Leaving the mental space and waiting for the end of Harry's template, Hawking separated a dozen shadow clones to stay here to practice ninjutsu, while the main body used the Dance of the Sky technique to leave for the company. The loading of Naruto's template is completed, and all he has left is the vortex bloodline and memory. The shadow clone technique seal is simple and easy to learn, and can be used after a few imitations based on memory. But other ninjutsu are not that simple. Highly difficult ninjutsu like the Rasengan still requires time and practice based on memory for a period of time before you can fully master it. In the world of Naruto, who had just returned to Konoha with everyone because of his failure to recover Sasuke, suddenly stopped while he was on his way. "What's wrong, Naruto?" Yamato, Sakura, and Sai saw Naruto stop and stopped immediately. Naruto raised his head in disbelief and replied, "I can't sense the Kyuubi's chakra." "Nani?" Yamato was shocked. If Kyuubi is lost, he will be beaten to death by Godai when he goes back. Naruto quickly sat down and closed his eyes. "Wait for me to take a look." In the mental space, looking at the empty cell, Naruto had a complicated expression. He didn't know whether he should be happy or not. Kyuubi has indeed disappeared. Opening his eyes again, Naruto scratched his head and reported to Yamato, "All right, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.